So like, okay, I make my Letterboxd account, and producer Ty is the one who explained Letterboxd to me
because he's a youth.
Yes,
And
and so he had explained it. I added him first, and he followed me first.
Right.
The second person to follow me on Letterboxd was this guy.
Okay. The reason that's so baffling to me is because the first you would then go on to be the youth and show me how to use Letterboxd. It's the only way that you're young still, by the way. Your bones have given up. Everything's given up.
Yeah.
But I basically download the app to keep a record of all of the things that we are watching together, not for any like record keeping purposes, but so that I didn't forget. I was ingesting so much of this stuff so quickly that I didn't want it to be like, well, what did you think of this one? And like, I don't fucking remember.
Yeah.
It's like, at least I know at a glance what I kind of thought. Well, this person follows me immediately. And I think it was during the Halloween franchise as we were watching them that I started to log these. Now, if you go to my Letterboxd, it's not going to show that because I failed to do it for a very long time and had to go back and like I'm sitting with your phone and my phone comparing and adding them all and then trying to remember what I thought about them. So the whole point of me doing it in the first place was fucking ruined. But I left a review for and I'm not going to say which because that's the part of this as sort of an ongoing mini series. I left a review that is terrible for a terrible movie that I hate. I do not like it. And he comments on it and he was like, really? That's surprising. I really like this one. And I was like, oh no, but that's the worst one. Like by a lot of this franchise, the movie I just reviewed and I gave it, half a star or whatever. It's like, no, you cannot be serious. So we would then go on to look more into this person.
Yes.
And just be amazed. It's amazing. Now, something we found out very recently is that, and I'm going to reach out on my own to see if we got to talk to him at least once.
Got to kind of pick his brain.
Yeah. Because it's things like the Halloween franchise. Halloween 6, the producer's cut of Halloween 6, he unironically gave it 5 stars and says that it is the mountaintop, that it's the best. His review specifies that he thinks that the whole Halloween franchise led to this movie and how perfect it is. H40, Halloween 2018, 1 star.
Wow.
And he says it's miserable, that he could barely get through it. It's things like he will give like it's not even Revenge of the Sith, because Revenge of the Sith is people love it, people hate it, whatever. Nobody loves Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Walker loves Attack of the Clones. He gave that shit 5 stars. I'm looking at it. He gave that shit 5 stars. Apparently he has a movie review where he defends poor movies. That's what he says. So I don't know if it's in the framework of that, but some of these takes, man, I gotta know. So I'm not giving any names away.
Yeah.
I'm introducing a mini series into the Third Channel podcast called The Walker Watch.
Okay.
Wherein if we watch a terrible movie and we don't like it, because we do not like this movie that we're about to talk about.
No,
today,
we don't. I'm
going to look and I'm going to see what he gave it. And then we're going to compare it. And so for this one, I gave this movie a single star.
I also give the theatrical cut of this movie a single star.
Right.
I give the producer's cut 1.5 stars.
Right. Walker gave it 5 stars.
That's that's a take.
So on the first official mini installment of Walker Watch, 5 stars for Halloween, the Curse of Michael Myers. Hello and welcome to the Curse of the Third Channel podcast of Thorn,
where we delve into the horror franchises you love from the perspectives of a lifelong horror fan
and a newbie to the genre. I'm PJ.
And I'm Derek.
And today the only thing we're here to talk about is the fact that this movie introduces Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Which is fucking wild. No, the only thing we're here to talk about is horror. Today's horror is Halloween. Now, it's not Halloween 6. The title is not Halloween 6.
No, it went through different title treatments. I think initially it was Halloween 666.
That'd be dope.
On the producer's cut, it does have the 6. But yeah, theatrically, just Halloween, the Curse of Michael Myers.
Wherein we review a bunch of people that we haven't seen in a long time, all freaking out about a symbol that everyone apparently knew about the entire time. It is a bizarre movie. And we had said last week that Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, was one that we didn't really enjoy.
Yeah.
And we kind of left it a little worried that maybe, we were just, because that movie makes me angry. I know it makes you a little angry. And we just kind of left feeling a little mad. So I had the thought, and I'm springing this on you.
Okay.
Because this was my idea. Instead of doing our typical, we got to do housekeeping, and then we talk about like production and what happened in the movie. Then you and I will talk about the things we did and didn't like in the movie. And then at the very end, we go over, do you recommend it? So this time, Derek, do you recommend this movie?
No.
And neither do I. So remember, folks, like, subscribe, and tune in next week when we talk about something different. I wish that we had the outro, like all of that on a hot button.
Yeah.
Because I would have done that as a bit, but that's all with producer Ty.
Yeah. When he's not, making sick beats, he's producing this show.
Yeah. And if you like a single part of this show, you have producer Ty to thank. Because housekeeping, the first bit of housekeeping, this is the second time on this show I've had to apologize for this. I am sick. I believe I might have strep or some other sickness that hurts your throat.
I'm happy to be sitting across from you then.
Oh, I'm going to make sure that, because I've got the mic sitting right in front of my mouth, but I'm going to angle it like this so that all the spit. But yeah, so I don't feel very well. So I might be a little...
Should we record this wearing masks?
No, not in this country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Good.
no, fuck no.
And in the free state of Florida as well.
Yeah. Love God. I love freedom. I like the freedom to kill the elderly with preventable illness. That's one bit of housekeeping for me. I have another bit of housekeeping. So as everyone who listens to this show knows, I have a sister. That sister is our on retainer, our fact checker.
Resident fact checker.
Yeah, so here's her fact checking. She does not recall the episode.
Oh, good God.
Okay. But she said, you said humans are very similar to apes, but something that I think is very cool is that humans are actually great apes ourselves. So we're not similar to apes. We are apes.
Oh.
Caroline is a biologist, a college degreed biologist.
She's the best of us.
She is. She's funnier than I am. She's got a better, I'm sure she smells better.
Better outlook on life.
Yeah. I'm going to take back the smell thing. I think we smell probably about the same.
Okay.
But, we now Alistair, woof. But yeah, those are my housekeeping notes. Caroline want to let the audience know that we are all apes, all of us.
And you know what they say?
God damn it, you beat me to it.
Ape together strong.
That's right. But yeah.
Someday.
And I'm sick. So you're going to hear that.
Yeah.
That's
That's the main thing I'm hearing right now.
Misophonic click clack of a cough drop in my mouth.
Yeah, I don't think I have any housekeeping. I haven't done any deep dives into things that we may have missed in past episodes that I got wrong. A couple episodes ago, I did say talking about an English writer for one of these films, and he had written the I think it was for Season of the Witch. He had written the Quatermass franchise, which is a British, and I say Quatermass the first time I say it and the second time I say it. And then for the remainder of that conversation, I keep calling it Quartermass, which is wrong. But I think
That's
it might have
awesome.
been my notes app had auto-corrected. And so anytime that I was kind of referring back, it was just like, oh, and then I mispronounced it. So I noticed that. It bothers me.
Gotcha. I also fucked up and I didn't need, well, okay, so here's the thing. Caroline's our resident fact checker, but Caroline doesn't know anything about horror movies. So the problem is that when I fuck up with like facts and figures about horror movies, I'm reliant only on myself to QA. So, really quickly, I said that I wanted a sponsorship from Clive Barker. And I said, because I'm a huge fan of his work, and he created a character that I love very much, Candyman. Candyman is not directly Clive Barker's creation. Candyman is based off of the titular character of a short story written by Clive Barker. But he did not create Candyman as seen as portrayed by Tony Todd. That's
a
indirect.
distinction. Yeah.
So just in case, I'm the one who's supposed. And then also, as always, I've had to do this I think 2 or 3 times, but you know, we have so little housekeeping. I figured I can fit this minute in here. I am the newbie to the genre. That doesn't mean I've never seen any horror movies before. The point of the show is that I have seen all these movies, but I've only seen them the once and very recently. And we're kind of going back and talking about them as how I viewed them the first time, because that's what the show's about, is what it's like somebody who saw those movies a very long time ago and has seen them many times talking to somebody who just recently watched them for the first time to see how our opinions differ. And more often I found in this show how they're the same. But,
in a lot of ways, yeah. I think I'm easier on a lot of things. Part of that comes from a little bit of the nostalgia factor for certain movies. If I saw it whenever I was younger, or I've seen it several times, it's just like, okay, it is what it is. I can give it a little bit of a pass. Whereas you were looking at it all from, you just got done watching Halloween 2018. And so you're like holding it to that caliber and you're like, well, that's terrible compared to that. And it's like, right, but it was a different type of movie.
It is also the thing of certain people who love this genre will be like, oh yeah, the middle ones aren't very good, but they're not terrible. And it's like, yeah, but if you watched them as they were releasing, or like Halloween would play on cable all the time, and then by the time you hit the 90s, you're going to go see Halloween 6 or H2O or whatever, you're not watching them back to back to back. But I watched Halloween flush itself down the toilet and
in like a 4-day span.
Right. And it was just like, because we get to 2 and 2 is like, oh well, that's not awful. It's not as good as the first, because the first is perfect. And then you get to 3 and 3 is like, whoa, this is fucking weird. And then you get to 4 and then 5 and 6. And then it's just like, so I think I'm more negative because I watch these things for the first time, like binge watching them. So we now move on to the letterbox summary. One thing I do want to point out about our Walker watch, as we were discussing earlier, I was correct with Walker's rating, 5 stars. My rating, I said 1 star. I was wrong. It's half a star.
Oh,
It's terrible. I don't think I left an actual review, just the star rating, but the summary is as follows. Terror never rests in peace. 6 years after being kidnapped by a cult, Jamie tries to escape the clutches of her serial killer uncle, Michael Myers. That's it.
wow.
Also,
Brief.
it's 6 years later.
Yep. Yeah. 6 years later.
That is bizarre.
Yeah. It's really bizarre when you start thinking about how old that makes Jamie.
Yeah, she's got to be like...
She was 9 in Halloween 5. So she is 15, no older than 15.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Yeah.
To say the least. Especially for the producer's cut.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say, is that I think a lot of this review, I think something that we need to establish pretty early on is that there are famously 2 versions of this movie.
Right.
The theatrical cut and the producer's cut. I think we'll probably more talk about the producer's cut just because when we originally watched the movie together, that's the version we saw.
Because I think that was my first time watching the producer's cut, because the Shout Factory Blu-ray and 4K had just recently come out with it. Before that, the only way that you could get the producer's cut was through like bootleg VHS and DVD rips that someone had pieced together years ago and released, on the circuit.
That someone is a sex pest.
But I do prefer the producer's cut ever so slightly, even for all its weirdness.
See, I like the theatrical cut because it's fucking done faster.
Yeah, it's about like 12 minutes shorter.
Yeah, it's 12 minutes that you could just be watching the wall, or not the movie. I mean, you're literally.
Oh, yeah.
on your
Yeah,
wall.
I got what you meant.
Yeah.
Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, released September 29th, 1995. Just under 6 years from the release of Halloween 5.
Which is interesting because the last one was back to back.
Yes. This one is directed by Joe Chappelle. It's written by Daniel Ferens, and it's produced by Paul Freeman. Freeman, that's a name that we have heard before. Cinematography is done by Billy Dixon. He was the cinematographer for a 87 action film called Night Force that starred Linda Blair.
Okay.
He cinematography for a 88 slasher called Grotesque, starring Linda Blair. He also worked on Calendar Girl, Cop Killer, the Bambi Bimbanek story. That's a TV movie from 92 starring Linda Blair.
What the fuck?
And then also The Secret Passion of Robert Clayton, which is a 92 TV drama starring Kevin Conroy.
And
no, she wasn't in
you
it.
son of a bitch.
I know. Sorry. And then he also shot 104 of 112 episodes of Ally McBeal.
What the fuck?
Yeah. That's what this episode is going to be, is a bunch of bizarre facts.
Okay, good.
The editor is named Randolph K. Bricker. He worked on, actually, we've talked about him before because he worked on The Arrival, the 91 sci-fi horror film starring John Saxon, not the version with Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner.
Gotcha. Lois Lane and Hawkeye.
Yes. Yeah. He was the editor on Hellraiser Bloodline.
Oh.
Phantoms,
okay,
which of course is a 98 sci-fi horror film starring Ben Affleck, because as we all know, Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms, yo. He was also
oh my God, we have talked about this guy because you made that joke and I said that Halloween 6 is the worst one, but that Hellraiser 4 is the best.
Yeah. And that was on our conversation with Bride of Chucky.
Oh.
He also was the editor on Texas Chainsaw, which is Texas Chainsaw 3D, Cult of Chucky, and the Chucky series for 9 episodes. The budget for this movie is pretty much the same as the last.
$13 million.
No, budget. You're thinking closer to the box office.
Okay.
Let me give you that hint.
Okay. $7 million.
$5 million.
Jesus.
Down a little bit from 5.5. And in the box office, it made 15.1 million, which is up ever so slightly from 5 at 11.6.
I bet every single person who didn't see the last one and saw this one hates themselves. They're like, what? What is this? Who's Jamie?
Yeah.
You know?
Very, very confused. Joe Chappelle, director of Phantoms, which again is that 98 sci-fi horror film. It also stars Rose McGowan and Liev Schreiber.
Oh, okay.
Both from the Scream franchise. Yeah. He did a 2000 thriller called Takedown, which starred Skeet Ulrich. So another Scream alumni. He did a TV movie called The Dark Prince, The True Story of Dracula. And then he did a couple episodes for the 2002 revival of The Twilight Zone and 16 episodes of the J.J. Abrams show Fringe, which is a show I've never watched, but I'd really like to.
Belle loves Fringe.
I bet. Like that seems that seems like one of her shows.
It's the guy who plays like the lead, like the scientist, the older guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in a handful of things. He was in Severance. He's in a couple of things that we've watched.
Cool.
And that's the poll she makes every time is, oh my God, that's the guy from Fringe.
Okay.
And I'm like, no, that's the guy who voices Scarecrow in Batman Arkham Knight.
Good pull.
You're going to have to take my word on that.
I will. The writer, Daniel Ferens, he wrote The Tooth Fairy from 06. Now, this is not to be confused with Darkness Falls that Dylan spoke of, which was a different horror Tooth Fairy movie.
Okay.
He also was the writer for Jack Ketchum's The Girl Next Door, not to be confused
with Ash Ketchum.
Not to be confused with Ash Ketchum, nor the Alicia Cuthbert sex comedy from 04, The Girl Next Door.
The first one because there's Pokemon and that's super popular, and the second one I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Oh, we've got to watch it, man. It's so good.
The sex comedy?
Yeah.
I don't know about a sex comedy.
We'll watch it together. Don't worry. He also was the writer for a movie called Havenhurst from 2016. Also stars Danielle Harris.
Okay.
And then he's the director-producer of Never Sleep Again, The Elm Street Legacy, which is another documentary about the entirety of the Nightmare franchise. Scream, The Inside Story, which is available on the set of Scream Blu-rays that we have. And Crystal Lake Memories, The Complete History of Friday the 13th.
What the fuck?
So he produced all of these. And I've seen all of these, and they're all like the Nightmare one and the Crystal Lake one are like 4-hour long documentaries.
Wow.
They are intense and they cover everything in this whole franchise. They're phenomenal. Definitely check those out.
How's the one for Halloween?
Haven't watched that, but I do think he's worked on one actually. I think it's on one of these discs.
It's weird that that's not on the list of horror documentaries, but he's involved in the making of one of those movies directly.
Yeah, he might have on one of the other earlier DVDs. Producer Paul Freeman, he returns to this one because he was also the producer for Halloween 4. He also returns for H2O and Resurrection. And the score is again done by Alan Howarth.
I will say the score in this one feels much better.
Yes. And it's better in the producer's cut because I think they use different cuts of the music.
Yeah. It feels more respectful and like more of an integral homage to the music from the first, but without being copy paste. It's like it's got it, but like Five's music is not like that at all, and it's all over the place, and it's like really like poorly composited over the action that it's with. This movie, that is one thing I don't hate.
Yeah,
is like the music feels Halloweenish.
Yes, and he goes back. It feels more like an actual piano.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree, especially on the second rewatch. I thought, I like the use of score here. So for our casting, like always, like we've been having fun with the last couple weeks, Dr. Samuel Loomis, played by Donald Pleasance.
This one's not as fun.
No, I think he gives a great performance.
He does.
I think it's one of the strongest parts of this movie.
And then in real life, he then fucking died immediately after filming this.
Yeah, so this would be one of his final film performances. This movie went through a lot of post-production reshoots and things like that, and so he passes away before those reshoots happen. So the theatrical cut of this movie, it just kind of ends.
Yeah.
And because they didn't have anything else to do with Loomis, they had the footage that they had.
Yeah.
And they had to cut around it.
Reminds me of what happens with Sid Haig and 3 from Hell.
Yes.
It's like they had him for that limited amount of time and then he's fucking dead. So it's like, well, whatever, which is funny because, obviously the connection with Rob Zombie there, but yeah, it's sad to watch him in this one because it's like, he's great. He's great as he always is, but it's like, I love you so much. At this point, we followed you through 5 of these movies. Like, I want to keep watching you do crazy shit. But, you had to go up there and scream about... Do you think he went up, like, he passes away and he goes to the afterlife. He's a Catholic and he goes to the afterlife and Christ is there. And he's like, so... Donald, welcome. And he's like, oh, is this heaven or is this hell? And he's like, no, it's heaven. And he's like, because if it was hell, there's evil down there. And they're like, no, we know, Mr. Pleasance. And he's like, it's evil on 2 legs with hooves because of the devil. Right. Yeah.
Metal AF. Michael Myers is played again by George P. Wilbur. He reprises his role from Halloween 4. He's done a bunch of other work, horror stuff, Firestarter and The Running Man, which are both Stephen King adaptations. He was the bailiff in Ghostbusters 2. But he apparently he did most of the shooting for this one.
Okay.
And part of the way through, and definitely when they got to the reshoots, he was replaced by A. Michael Lerner.
Get the fuck out of here.
It sounds like a made-up name.
It sounds like somebody who's learning how to be Michael.
Oh, yeah.
Michael Lerner.
Okay, I wrote these notes, and I didn't even put that together.
That is fucking amazing.
Okay.
So there's what? No school?
Well, the school is you watch George P. Wilbur be Michael.
Unless you skip school, Nick.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah. Which if you're a fan of the Third Channel podcast, you'll know that that's a joke I've made like 10 times. Because I'm creatively bankrupt.
The unfortunate recast that happens in this one, and not unfortunate for probably her career,
No.
but unfortunate in the way that it was handled.
Yeah. We watched this little behind the scenes together. I'm amazed it's in like that it's part of the DVD.
Yeah, they
That's
are
in the special
pretty
features.
like brutally honest. They
Yeah.
gave Danielle Harris a platform to have this conversation, and she tells this story where Danielle Harris, who has played Jamie Lloyd in the last two movies, 4 and 5,
Right.
who is the niece of Michael Myers,
Right.
from your description, plays a part in this film.
Yeah.
But she was 17 at the time of making this, and she had contacted the producer, Paul Freeman, about reprising her role as Jamie. And they basically were like, well, no, you have to be 18 years or older to play this, because when you're an adult, as an actor, when you're over the age of 18, you can shoot things at night, you can work for longer hours, you have different rules. And so they needed an adult to play the role this time. But she was only 17. So instead, she moved to legally emancipate herself from her parents.
Who she had a fine relationship with,
Yep.
from what I understand.
And so she spent a couple $1,000s to, do the courts, do the paperwork, do the whatever it takes to get, taken away from her parents, basically, and say, I am legally an adult now.
Yeah.
And she was cast in the role. And then Dimension Films, they couldn't come to an agreement over her salary. Basically, they had offered her a scaled, I've heard different numbers, but the most I've heard is like $1,000 maximum to shoot this for like the course of a week that she was going to be on this film.
That's what she says in her interview.
Which was less than the amount she spent for the
Emancipation, which they needed her to do.
Right.
Right.
And so they went back and forth. The writer and the producer had both wanted Harris for the part, and they, claim that their hands were tied. And Danielle Harris gives this statement of like talking to the head of the casting department at that point, just refusing to negotiate her salary, and basically telling her like, you are a character who dies within the first like 20 minutes of this movie. You are getting paid scale, and there's nothing you can do to change that.
Yeah.
And so Danielle, walked, which good for her.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely good for her.
And they recast, and the rest is the curse of Michael Myers.
They recast, and the person they cast as Jamie's fine, because I mean there is a criticism there in that obviously Jamie's been an integral part of the franchise, and you want that character to be you looking at the film as part of a legacy. That character has gravitas, and so you'd want that to pay equal, but the reason that the recast doesn't fucking matter is because that character's barely in the movie. More so in the producer's cut, but like barely more.
Yeah. Not enough to really matter in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Okay, the development on this movie. If development hell wasn't a term before this one, it might have invented the term. Basically, after the negative response for Halloween 5, Mustafa Akkad put the series on a hold to reevaluate. And he had said that this is where we landed after all the reevaluation. So he felt that Halloween 5 had strayed too far from Halloween 4, and that is why the box office response was as low as it was. Which, I mean, in those ways, I can agree. I think we said similar things of like Halloween 4, was a return to basics, and Halloween 5 was just kind of like a rehash of that, but then worse decisions made.
Yeah, here's my take on that. It's hard for you to say that your box office taking for your sequel is because it is not the same as the prequel. It's not as 5 isn't the same as 4. So 5 didn't make as much money because it was such a departure. The reason that I have problems with that logic is like, yeah, but the movie in its entirety as compared to another movie is not why people didn't buy tickets to it. They didn't buy tickets to it because 4 was fucking boring. and they saw 4 and they're like, I don't really give a shit about 5. And so they didn't go and see the next one. You can't really blame it on the new one. You have to blame it on the last one.
Yeah.
If there's a dip, it's like, well, you can blame it on both, I'm sure. That more diehard or more dedicated fans may have more of a problem and maybe didn't go again, or word of mouth or reviews. But I think your average moviegoer at that point, it's like, well, yeah, I have no interest seeing 5 because 4 was a snooze fest.
Yeah.
And then you get to this one.
Yeah. In 1990, screenwriter Daniel Farrens wrote a treatment for Halloween 6, and he gave that script to Ramsey Thomas, who was the producer of Halloween 5, who was very impressed by that writing and set up a meeting between him and Mustafa Akkad. Farrens, he was a huge fan of the Halloween franchise. He knew the films very, very well, and the novelizations written by Dennis Etchinsons, who we've mentioned before. And so he had written like an entire Bible of the franchise to give to Mustafa and the studio to be like, this is what I'm kind of building off of. So they wanted to rush this right into production, but just nothing, they couldn't figure it out. And so what happened...
And they never did.
No, they still haven't. The producers entered a series of legal battles, which delayed the plans even further. Eventually, Miramax Films, via their Dimension Film division, bought the rights to the Halloween franchise. And so they had hoped to start production in October of 93. So already 3 more years has gone by. That didn't happen. Bob Weinstein, he subsequently hired Gary Flater to direct. He recommended screenwriter Phil Rosenberg, who became the first writer hired for the project officially. Rosenberg's screenplay, no relation to me, by the way.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Rosenberg's screenplay, titled Halloween 666, The Origin, follows a Chicago news reporter who arrives to Haddonfield to cover the town's first Halloween celebration in 5 years, during which a series of killings begins. So, the kernel of this idea of part of this movie was there from then.
Okay.
Of this town, Haddonfield doesn't celebrate Halloween anymore. And so we're finally going to again, and then Michael comes back. So, but Akkad didn't like that screenplay. Miramax did. And so they moved forward with it. That writer and director eventually dropped out, citing creative differences. June 1994, Daniel Farrens, who was the guy who wrote the Bible and pitched that, he was hired officially to write a new screenplay. And because basically they were coming up on their new impending shooting date that they had scheduled for October in Salt Lake City.
I'm sorry. Having a Bible for this series pisses me off. This isn't Lord of the Rings. Nobody speaks Elvish. There's not, continents and its many histories. It's like your Bible is creepy child, murders sister, escapes, murders more, murders in other places. Maybe you do the Man in Black thing if you're really committed to that bullshit. But what is that? 3 typed pages if you're doing single space? What is that? That's not a Bible. That's a leaflet.
I don't know how much is added in the novelizations that maybe flesh out some backstory here and there that maybe he was pulling from. But yeah, the Weinsteins then moved on to Joe Chappelle to direct after being impressed by his debut film, Thieves Quartet. Farrens said that his initial intent for the film was to bridge the later films, 4 and 5, with the earlier films of 1 and 2. While at the same time taking the story into, quote, new territory so that the series could expand for future installments. That meant bringing back and expanding on the Man in Black and the Thorn symbol, which had both appeared in Halloween 5 with no explanation.
Right.
Literally, when they were making Halloween 5, they didn't. The makers of the movie, the writer, director, producers, did not know who or what the Man in Black was. So, when writing Curse, Farrens was tasked with creating a mythology for Myers, which defined his motives and why he couldn't be killed, seemingly. I'll quote him again. He can't just be a man anymore. He's gone beyond that. He's mythical. He's supernatural. So I took it from that standpoint, and that's something else driving him, a force that goes beyond the five senses that has infected this boy's soul and now is driving him.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like a different masked killer at the time whose
it does.
franchise had gone into. He's no longer a man territory like just a couple years before now.
Yeah, and Farrens admits that the film really goes too far in a lot of places, and he's not satisfied with the finished product after all. The special effects artist we have talked about before, John Carl Buechler. I'm probably mispronouncing his name, but he created the mask for this film. He was also the guy who did the like punch up work for Halloween 4. So he did the thumb through the forehead and the neck rip.
The best scenes, those are the best parts of that entire movie.
And then he also goes at the same time he was directing Friday the 13th Part 7.
Okay.
So he created the mask for the film, which he based heavily on the mask featured on the poster for Halloween 4, which of course we've already discussed is the mask from Halloween 1, not the mask from Halloween 4.
So then he based Michael's mask. Hold on. Let me get this. He based Michael's mask off of Michael's mask.
Yes.
And then it ended up not looking, importantly, like Michael's mask.
Yeah.
It looks like an elderly man made of paper mache with a wig. The wig of which, not human hair, raccoon hair. That's what it looks like.
Now, I know he handcrafted it over George P. Wilbur's like face cast so that it would fit him properly.
Sure.
I think you and I we differ a little bit on our opinions on this mask. I like the sculpt of this mask. I like the way that it looks. Like, I think it does a good job of cutting the like profile of what the Michael Myers, the shape mask looks like. I hate the texture.
So I agree with you about the texture because it does. It looks like It looks like it would be like coarse to the touch. Like it's made out of like,
and it looks thick.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't look like a mask, like a Halloween mask.
The thing I don't like about it is that Michael's mask in the first movie and really that original design for that mask, and they really do a good job of this in 2018. It's emotionless. And in this one, it looks like in 5, they cast Greg Nicotera's face, and that's what the mask is. And in this one, they obviously sculpt it a little bit. It looks angrier. It doesn't look neutral. And I already don't like, and we'll get far more into this, but I already don't like the implications that they're making about Michael and the way that he's controlled and yada yada. So then to give his face more expression, just, I don't know. I think it misses the mark. And his hair is it's like Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah. It's like straight. It's like slick. It's not slick back. It's pushed back.
Well, and I think that was a overcorrection from the negative response they got from the hair of the mask in 5,
where it is like Tony Rigatoni, like completely slick back. Yeah.
So early 1995, filming and editing are done. Curse of Michael Myers was given a test screening. And during the Q&A afterwards, one of the audience members expressed they weren't happy with the ending of the film. And most of that came from confusion about the Curse of Thorn and what was going on with...
So the person didn't say that I'm not happy with the ending. The person said the ending doesn't make any sense because none of this makes any fucking sense.
Where did all this come from?
Paul Rudd spends 35 minutes giving expository dialogue, and it still doesn't clue up the mystery of what the fuck is supposed to be happening.
But, in true movie production manner, they then rush back into production. This time, like we said, without Donald Pleasance, who had passed away on February 2nd of 1995. That's like 8 months before the release of the film. These reshoots took place in Los Angeles over the summer of 1995 and over the course of like 4 days. New director of photography, so they look different than the rest of the film.
Like a lot.
Yeah. The Akkads were sidelined. Most everybody who had worked on the film previously had been sidelined.
Yeah.
Dimension Films took over the film at this point. which happens a lot of times with these sorts of like, we did a preview screening and they didn't like it, so we're going back for reshoots. Like a lot of times it's just like, oh, okay, well we're gonna take this away from you now.
Well, yeah. I hate, because I hate the studio think tank, like everybody does. But like, yeah, at the point where you've given a test screening and their review, their critiques are like, it doesn't make any fucking sense, and it's really fucking weird, and it's supposed to be an easy to make slasher horror movie, and Friday the 13th has gotten away with making a fucking half dozen of them by now, and it's like, yeah, you guys can't make this movie anymore. You just can't. It has cost us an ass ton already, and now we have to go in and shoot more. I hate to say that I agree with Miramax here, but I do.
Yeah. And they tried to have like Farron's write new stuff with Chappelle. A lot of that got thrown out. Apparently they'd brought in a different writer, Rand Ravitch, who had previously rewritten Hellraiser Bloodline for that studio. But that, you know, it adds the extended like chase sequence at the end, a higher body count, and then Tommy Doyle's fight with Michael at the end. They ended up just running out of time and throwing out like all the, like there was just a handful of scenes and shots that they like, we didn't have it, we don't have time. And then that's why you just tilt down onto the Michael mask on the ground, and that's how the movie ends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also went through significant editing and post-production, and that is why this is where I think the movie suffers in both versions, because this is where we have a brisker pace, a flashier, using huge air quotes there, cinematic style that favored blood and guts, but it made a more confusing movie. I also, just as someone who likes cinematography and editing and those parts of a film, the way this movie is cut annoys me to no end.
It's also so sad because, you know, we sat with Bug, not even recording. We sat with Bug and we just talked about John's wonders throughout Halloween, because there's several of these long, suspenseful, sometimes, you know, you're looking at a street and your eyes just wander and like, where am I supposed to be focusing on? And then by the time you see it, it's like, oh, he's standing right there. Or not even, it's like a claustrophobic hallway shot. And, you know, at the time that they're shooting in the 70s, it's like, there's not a lot of ways to cheat out camera shadows. So you just see it and it's gritty, but at least it had like, it built emotion. It let you linger in the thing that the filmmaker was trying to get you to linger in. This is just like, what's that? I don't know. Next scene. Oh, you know, the Curse of Thorn's a really big deal. Next scene. I'm going to be Ant-Man in like 20 years. Just you wait. And then it's like, what is this fucking movie?
Yeah, no, and I think that's a good point. Like, you don't have time to sit and linger and look at shots, because it is so much of like, you know, them walking from the door to the car is just like cut, 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 cut. And it's like, we could have just walked with them.
Right. We could have walked with them, or we could have said, we're going to go get in the car. Before we do, is there anything else that we need to talk about? And then you have that scene in a room with lighting, and maybe you have their backs to the window and you have something interesting out the window, and you do interesting things. It holds on to this interesting location because you dumb pieces of shit were given Haddonfield. That's your location. You were given the most interesting horror location of all time, and you couldn't be fucked to make it matter. It's just, now, one thing I will say about this, and I had almost told you while we were watching it the last time, and I didn't, I wanted to save it for this discussion, is one thing I do like about the location in this movie and kind of the way it feels is like Haddonfield feels run down. There's like trash everywhere and like spray paint and garbage, and there's like, at one point you pull up to a house and there's like half of like the back half of a fucking El Camino is just like lopsided in the driveway, and it's like, oh right, because this town is notorious and infamous for serial killings, it would have fallen to pieces. The amount of shit that's happened here, it's like the people who are staying are stuck, everyone else is left, which means no one's coming in. So I like that you kind of decrepify, to make up a word, this town and make it look so abysmal. But they don't even do that well, because it's just like a couple shots. But then like the interiors, like the interior of the Myers house where the Strodes live, is like disgusting, but not in that kind of way. It's disgusting of like, well, we need to make this look lived in. So just throw shit in the corners, just clutter it as best as possible. And it's just like, so this, and I think this is going to be a running theme through this movie is that could have been an interesting thing. Making Haddon feel dirty and poor feeling could have been interesting. You know, doing the whole, we don't celebrate Halloween anymore. That could have been interesting.
Yeah.
And every turn you fumbled and it's terrible and stupid and pointless.
Like they do in a lot of these movies, there's like, you know, got to be some exposition of the things that have happened in prior films.
Right.
I find this one interesting because, I mean, we don't really know it at the time, but it's Paul Rudd giving it in the theatrical cut. And then they give almost the exact same speech in the producer's cut, but it's done by Donald Pleasance.
And I wonder if there's a piece that maybe we didn't notice from one to the other that they needed to change, but Pleasance wasn't available because he was in the great fucking beyond.
Yeah.
It is bizarre. And the exposition that they give here is like, because 5 didn't establish any of what this movie was about. It's
right.
Like, but you're not giving expository dialogue about anything that is going to matter. None of this is going to come out in the, like, nothing that you've just said matters. And the people who are watching this have probably seen the ones before. Yeah.
I mean, it's been 6 years, so I guess there's a little bit, this makes more sense to give some exposition versus like they have those scenes in Halloween 5 whenever it's like the other movie came out a year ago, literally a year ago.
This movie starts with the end of the last one.
But yeah, I think it's a little interesting. They're trying something here. The two opens other than that is different because the producer's cut starts with the credits. Right. It doesn't open with this scene. And that's where you actually get the Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, title treatment. Otherwise it's just Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. The theatrical cut starts with a line, like a spoken line of dialogue. "Michael, please don't hurt me." From a distraught woman who is then shown on a gurney being led down a awful underground hallway.
It's very clean.
Doctors and the man in black is what it appears. Yeah. In this big cloak. I hate it immediately. Yeah. It's all shot. Everything in this scene. They wheel her down to an operating room. She gives birth. Doesn't matter. My complaint here. It's all shot on like handheld, shaky camera just whips back and forth between people just because.
Right.
I don't like the look of this right off the bat. The baby is handed over to the man in black and taken away from the mother. Now we don't know. Well, I guess maybe with the trailers and things, maybe you did know that was Jamie coming into this, but if you didn't, this is just a woman.
Right.
Who has given birth and her baby is taken from her.
And like, where the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Right.
Where does this take place? When does this take place?
Right.
And
was that Paul Rudd? was that Paul Rudd talking just then? What is this?
Yeah. And that is in that voiceover, it does give, I believe that it's been 6 years.
Yeah.
Since the last film. The producer's cut is a little different in this. It also gives, after this scene, it gives a black and white version of the ending shots of Halloween 5 of the man in black breaking into the police department, murdering everyone and taking Michael with him. But then we get a newly shot scene or little insert of Jamie being taken by the man in black as well.
Right.
Which you obviously pointed out as like, well, that's not in Halloween 5. We had just watched it.
Yeah, that did not happen. It now has happened to justify why this child is being kept in a hospital for birth. Which, again, remember, the way that people describe the production of this movie is like, well, we did some reshoots and whatnot to kind of enhance the storytelling and really open the franchise up for different places. And it's like, oh, you did that by taking our little girl character that we love so much from the last two movies, and now she's in a hospital giving birth, screaming, "Michael, don't hurt me." I think you guys. Guys, I think you overcorrected. I think these are horrible images and sounds, and I hate it all.
The nurse steals the baby, gives it back to Jamie, tells her to run.
Right.
And we get our, I think it's our first shot of Michael. And they very quickly, there's a lot of things in this movie where they are doing homages to all the hits from Halloween's 1978.
Yeah.
Because you quickly get the nurse standing there. From the shadows comes Michael. You see his mask, come out of the darkness.
Which at this point, fucking knock it off.
Yeah.
You've done it too much. Knock it off.
As Dylan put it, unearned.
Yes.
He said it about a different thing, but comes out of the shadows, picks up the nurse, and then conveniently.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm trying to make sense of this.
Let me take this over because this is so goddamn funny. I thought about this today. Michael picks up this nurse and shoves her like the base of her neck into a spike that's sticking out of the wall, like a triangle, like an arrowhead, but bigger, that's sticking out of the wall. And it's very clear that they are in a clinical space. It is clean. The floors, the walls, and the ceiling are all white. Every light is white. So the question, you look at me and you go, why the fuck is there a spike on the wall? I was like, well, hold on.
Because you can see the whole hallway.
Yeah, so I did. I paused and I'm like, hold on. I don't know. I guess it's just for murder. It's the murder spike. Well, they've got Michael Myers, the boogeyman, as their goddamn henchman.
And she just happened to pause, standing right in front of it.
That's where they put her mark.
It's bad. Oh,
she's professional.
Good. That is good. He kills her, and the Halloween theme kicks in, of course, as he then tilts his head, looking at her body, much like he did to Bob in the original. Again, it's just more of the hits, which they also did in Halloween 4. There's several like little homages like that, and it's like it doesn't bother me all the time, but this is like just rapid fire throughout this film. It's just like, oh yeah, by the way, this. We're just doing it again.
Well, and the other thing is like 4, you almost have the baked in excuse of like the premise of 4 being, oh, we're going back to our roots. We're bringing Michael back. Look, everybody, we're back. Michael's back. And it's like in the marketing. So like, okay, yeah, you do all the hits, but then you do all the hits in 4 and then you do them again in 5 and then you do them again in 6 and 8. And each time it becomes less believable and more shoehorned.
It's a copy of a copy of a copy.
A Mustafa, a copy.
That's good.
Did you really think so?
Yeah, I did like that.
Okay.
Any little play on his name.
I went out on a limb. What about Mustasha? I assume he has a mustache. I've never seen a photo of him.
Oh man, I don't know.
Here, you keep talking. I'm gonna Google it really quick.
Yeah, figure that out. This is the real mystery of this.
Yeah, this is what the podcast is
why
about.
was that spike there, and did Mustafa Akkad have a mustache? Jamie runs outside. She steals some dude's truck, and Michael is slowly following along behind her. He snaps the neck of whoever this guy is. That kill is cool. Like it looks like the neck rip from Halloween 4.
Yeah.
So same artist, so that makes sense.
Really quickly. No, he did not have a mustache.
Then your pun, no good.
No good.
We then are shown, I guess the front steps. It's revealed later that this is the Myers house, and we go up to the front door, and there's a kid named Danny because the man in black says, "Danny, kill for me," and he's standing in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
And so the kid thinks that he's having a nightmare, and his mom comes in to comfort him, and there's like, it's a kid's room. There's like toys and there's drawings that he's got up on the wall and everything. And right next to the door, he has the thorn symbol drawn on this piece of paper, and she bumps it and it falls off the wall and she picks it up, says goodnight, comforts him, whatever. She goes back.
What the fuck is this? You little creep.
That happens a couple times in this movie. But she takes it back to her room and she looks at it. Before like immediately getting undressed in the mirror.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just, we got to have a little bit of TNA in our slasher movie.
I guess. Well, there's
'cause
an example of that later on that's fucking wild.
yes.
Yeah.
And it introduces us to the guy across the street.
Yeah. Which the geography of this makes zero sense because, like, out of the backyard of the Strode house where these people are living is like a commune, like a communal home. They call it a boarding house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they share backyards, like with a fence line.
No, no. It's across the front.
Then how come
like
they
across the
keep?
street.
They're like looking out the window, and it's the backyard of the Myers house.
I don't think it is.
Well, then it looks like a fucking backyard. And like the house is like catty corner. It's not like straightforward.
Okay, you know what they're doing? And this is not a joke. Again, it's just to pay homage.
No, I hope to find out because I've been confused about this.
They're doing the thing where the ending of John Carpenter's Halloween is these two houses that sit catty corner from each other, and we move back and forth between them as Michael kills people. They're doing the exact same thing here. It is the Myers house, and then Mrs. Whatever her name is, Mrs. B, her boarding house.
It's fucking weird.
Yeah. And it's explained like who she is later, and like we'll get into it, but whatever. There's this radio show that's going on that everyone that we cut to in this scene, this opening sequence, I should say, is listening to. And he's like a shock jock, like who's going to be doing like a Halloween shock fest, the next day in Haddonfield. But he explains that basically, well, I don't even think he explains. I think a caller explains that, Halloween hasn't been held in Haddonfield for the last like 5 or 6 years due to, what's happened for 2 solid years back in the day.
Yeah.
And then, 10 years before that, another night of murder.
The 2 entire police staffs
just gone.
are gone.
That's why Haddonfield looks the way it does. They're there's no police force.
Yeah. None of them got their pension because they got Myers did.
The guy across the street from the Myers house is introduced as Tommy. He calls into the radio show and he says, that he had seen Michael Myers whenever he was 8 years old.
And like the whole delivery of this is super weird. It's like kind of creepy and like not. It is strange to see Paul Rudd's face not do something charming or like charismatic, just to be like a weird sort of reedy like cretin. It's bizarre.
Yeah, and it's like they kind of keep the reveal of his last name for later. It's not until he bumps into Loomis at the hospital that they actually give his name. So he's just Tommy.
I don't know if it's supposed to be assumed.
I don't know. Like I don't know. They don't do a good enough job to me of like, is that supposed to be a big reveal, or are we supposed to go, well, what other Tommy would have known Michael at 8 years old?
Yeah, I don't know.
One of the callers, mentions Loomis, and we cut to Loomis in his home.
This is the best part of the whole movie.
Working on his typewriter, and he's just typing away, and they're just like, whatever happened to that Loomis guy? He was like the psychiatrist of Michael Myers, and he was always like looking out for him and whatnot. Where is he at?
They say something like, I think he's dead or something.
Yeah.
And like he looks up at no one. And like it's this big face reveal, and he turns around and it's Donald Pleasance, and he has this big smile on, and he's like, no, just retired happily. And it's like, yay.
If only credits could have rolled then.
Yeah.
Would have been this happy little addendum to the whole franchise.
What I would have wanted is somebody to be like, well, what about Michael? What happened to Michael? And for him to look dead in the camera and be like, who the fuck cares? And that's the ending.
A doctor friend of Dr. Loomis comes in, Dr. Terrence Wynn, played by Mitchell Ryan, who was in Lethal Weapon, which is from '87, also starred Tom Atkins. He was in an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. He was in Judge Dredd from '95, starring Max von Sydow, who was in The Exorcist. And then he was also in Liar Liar in '97, starring Jennifer Tilly.
Oh my God.
He comes in.
Not to be confused with Big Fat Liar, starring Paul Giamatti of Amazing Spider-Man 2 fame.
Man, deep cuts right there.
Oh yeah,
I love that movie.
I do too.
Big Fat Liar.
Yeah,
Let me stress that.
Yeah.
But he comes in. He's like, Loomis, I know you just said to the camera that you're retired, but I need you to come back to Smith's Grove.
He says a line here that's like kind of heartbreaking. He's like, I don't want to practice medicine anymore. He's like, I just want to chill the fuck out.
Yeah, he says that he had a stroke 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I guess that's how they're explaining like the ending of 5 whenever he collapses on Michael.
Okay.
That's my take.
Sure.
In the producer's cut, Loomis talks about how he had plastic surgery so that his face, like to fix the burns on his face.
And then he does that thing where he holds his hand up next to his face and he's like, see? And it's like, oh yeah, you got the egg off your face, literally.
Yeah. Jamie ends up at a bus station and
where this radio show is just blaring.
Yeah.
And it's like abandoned. It's like everybody's gone home.
There's not a person at the desk or anything. I think there's a sign that says back in 5 minutes or something.
But it's just this fucking radio voice just like, hey, Haddonfield. And it's like just echoing off the walls.
Yeah, just through the darkness.
It is so weird.
Mm-hmm. That everyone in this town is just enraptured by this. I mean, I guess, like, I don't know.
Listen. It's no secret. We are in the Tampa Bay area.
Right.
The Tampa Bay area is infamous for our talk radio hosts. A prime example, Bubba the Love Sponge, racist, piece of shit, terrible person. But for a while, he was like, he interviewed insanely famous people, was on all the time. Yeah, he was a piece of shit, but people liked that kind of talk radio, especially in this area. But at no point, at 0 point, could you have gone to the Greyhound station in downtown at 4 a.m. and it's abandoned, but Bubba the Love Sponge on 102.5 The Bone is like blasting. That's crazy. But then it's crazier when you find out that this radio station is not local.
Right. Because he's having to travel in to do the show.
They're flying him in. So I assume Chicago or somewhere like nebulously in Illinois.
I don't know if they're flying him in. They have a van. So I think they drive him.
Okay.
But
he says,
a neighboring town.
He says something about like, you brought me into this.
Yeah.
Bud, the host of this. Bud, the Love Sponge. But he's like, man, he laments going to Haddonfield because it's like a shitbox little town. So a non-local shock jock talk radio host is blared everywhere. Yeah. In every car, it's like, you know how people would say that during the finale of Seinfeld, there was nobody out. And it was like New York City was like a ghost town because everybody was watching fucking Seinfeld, which by the way, as somebody born in 94 who never really watched Seinfeld, that blows my mind. But that's, I imagine what this radio host, that's what he's like. Yeah. He's like Seinfeld.
So yeah, Jamie's in this abandoned bus station. She goes into a phone booth. She calls the radio show because he gives the number, which is the reason I guess that it has to be blaring. Begs Loomis for help. She doesn't give her name, I don't believe. She might say her name is Jamie. I can't remember. This is the least sticky movie I've ever watched.
I really don't think she does. I just think she's like, Dr. Loomis, if you're out there, I need your help. He's coming after my son. Yeah. And it's like, okay. And then it cuts to Loomis in the office with his home with this guy. And he's like, I can't really be retired anymore. And it's like, no, Sam, you don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah, he's, but I mean, that's what he does. You know, Michael comes back, Loomis comes back. Yeah. 1-to-1.
He's looming, you know?
Jamie runs downstairs to the bathroom to run away from Michael, who has found her somehow.
Now, what cut are we going to go over?
I mean, we can go over kind of both.
Because in the theatrical cut,
yeah,
she hides her baby in the bathroom. We don't know that, but she has.
Yeah. She gets back in the truck. She
drives away. He bumps her off the road.
He's driving a Smith's Grove van. Right. I noticed at least in the producer's cut.
So is that supposed to be like a blink and you'll miss it giveaway?
I don't know. That was my question.
Or is it just really stupid?
Yeah, that they're just giving it away, or it's like, oh, get it? He drove a Smith's Grove car in the first one, so now he's driving the van. I don't know what they were doing.
Where you're in a movie where it's like, oh, look, he did the sit up head tilt thing. Member berries. It's like, well, is that One of those.
Right.
Does this have any bearing? Halloween. Does this have any bearing on the plot? That's the tagline for the whole franchise. But he like runs her off the road and she's in like a farm.
Yeah.
Because again, it's never, well, no, I guess this wouldn't necessarily be in Haddonfield because Smith's Grove is shown in the original to be like an hour or so away.
And it's shown in this movie on like the bus station like schedule or map. Like it shows it,
Do you think
the next stop over?
Do you think Smith's Grove is its own like town that the asylum is named after? Do you think that everyone that
bus stop is
the crazy asylum place?
Yeah. I had that exact thought watching it and I almost made a comment of like, why would Smith's Grove just be a stop for the bus to make? It's got to be a little township or something.
It's like, do you remember in SpongeBob Rock Bottom? It's like, why would that be a bus stop?
Right.
It's same thing. Oops, I fell asleep too long. I got off at the lunatic asylum. Hopefully
they have a room for
me. Oh, thank God. I showed up and everybody's just out walking around in the rain. Do you remember we were talking about Halloween 1 and like Bug came over?
Yeah, that was great.
3, Dylan was here.
Oh man. But yeah, she's at this farm, goes into this barn.
Yeah.
The cuts are different. The way that she's quote unquote killed is different. She basically waits for him. She's hiding in the theatrical cut.
Yes.
And he comes in and there's like some shadowy shots of him in the background and flashes of lightning and he disappears. So it's kind of like, is she imagining him or is he actually there?
Right.
And then he like grabs her and picks her up and puts her
in like a piece of machinery.
I don't know what this thing is.
It looks like a pitchchfork, but then also it's got like blades in it. I don't know. It's weird.
And then it's powered. He turns it on. So it's like, is it a hay baler of some kind?
It's a Jamie Lloyd murderer.
Yeah.
That's what it does.
Because that's what it does. Jamie Lloyd is played by J.C. Brandy in this film.
Which, of course, stands for Jesus Christ.
Yes. She was in an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation and a movie called Devil in the Flesh from 98, starring Rose McGowan of Scream fame, and she was also in What Lies Beneath. The producer's cut, Michael just stabs her.
Yeah.
And she falls on the ground. And then she says, Michael, you can't have the baby.
Right.
And Michael goes back out to the truck, and the baby's not there. She was holding a roll of towels instead or something.
Yeah.
That's our opening sequence to this film. It's a whole lot.
Yeah. It's confusing.
Yes.
It's a head scratcher, but like it's a head scratcher in the same way that lice is. It's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take a long time to get over it. You hate it. The little bugs. Fucking this movie, dude. Because it's like, oh, because if you're either in the theatrical version and you're like, oh, well, that's Jamie dead.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're in the producer's cut and you're like, oh, well, I guess Jamie's dead. It's not definitive one way or the other. I guess she's dead, but I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Because this was really weird. And like immediately you set the precedent of like, he's in the barn and it's like, oh, look, he's going all over the place. How is he going to get to her? Is she going to continue to run away? But she's not running away. So he's just appearing and like he's apparating and disapparating for like a fucking lark.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, well, there's no suspense here. There's no tension. It's here he is. Oh, he's gone, but we're still lingering here. So you know what's going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, they're like attempts at building tension. I will talk about more in a later sequence where they basically just recreate the finale of the original film.
I will say that the opening to this movie is better than Halloween 5.
Yes,
because at least it's not Michael's wacky river rapids into man who lives in tree.
Yeah,
because that's worse.
That is worse. We get our kind of familiar Haddonfield Halloween titles. Mm-hmm. And one of the, if not the best shots in the whole movie to me is we crane up from what we learn is the Myers house, the front porch, and we reveal the streets of Haddonfield covered in leaves and pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns and decorations and kids running around in costumes, and it seems great.
And thank God they didn't have to buy any of those leaves.
Yeah. We are then introduced to
The best character in the movie.
well, we're introduced to all of our characters in the movie.
Yeah.
Like everyone is introduced that we care about is going to be right here in this. Kara Strode is one of our leads, played by Marion Hagen. She did sporadic TV work. She was in Stakeland, which was a 2010 vampire movie we mentioned the other day. Also stars Danielle Harris. She was in Last Kind Words in 2012 with Brad Dourif. She was in The Forest Hills in 2023, which also starred Stacey Nelkin from Halloween 3. And that was the last film of Shelley Duvall.
Oh, okay.
So a weird connection there. Her son, Danny Strode, is played by Devin Gardner. He was basically in one other movie besides this. Who cares?
And it's Citizen Kane.
Yes. He played the sled. Deborah Strode is played by Kim Darby. She was in an episode of Star Trek, the original series. She was in True Grit, the 69 version with John Wayne.
Okay.
She plays Maddie Rose, or Maddie Ross. Maddie Ross is the character's name, who's played by Haley Steinfeld in the Coen Brothers version.
That's interesting.
Yeah. She was also in the TV horror film Don't Be Afraid of the Dark in 1973. And in 2017, she was in The Evil Within. Her husband, who is the worst, John Strode, is played by Bradford English. Also,
the character. I thought you meant the actress's husband, and I was like, uh-oh.
Oh, no. Her Deborah's husband, John Strode, in this film. Bradford English, also sporadic TV and film work. He was in Basic Instinct. He was in Wolf in 94, which is a werewolf movie with Jack Nicholson, Michelle Pfeiffer, and James Spader, I think is in that movie. And then he also appeared in an episode of Party of Five starring Neve Campbell.
Okay.
I like to mention that anytime that I can. I mean, the Strodes in this movie.
Yeah, he is, because we're introduced to him first. We basically we close in on a sign, and this is a fine thing because it's like establishing what they kind of go through in this town. It's like, there's Strode Realty. There's like a sign out front of the house, but there's, like He's Coming Back or whatever is like spray painted onto it. And there's a Michael Myers, like kind of shitty vacuum form mask just like stapled to the front of it. And then this guy who's like puffier knockoff Biff Tannen.
Yeah.
He's like the bully guy who he's like the guy who acted as the bully in teen dramas, grew up to act as an abusive husband. And he's just like, you fucking kids. And it's not much of an exaggeration.
No.
His line is like, you fucking kids, I'll fucking kill you if you ever do any more of this bullshit. And he rips the sign out and he's like, burp, 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 and he goes
if only
inside.
he ripped the sign out. He uses an axe to cut it down.
That's right.
But he could just pull it out of the ground. It's a realty sign.
He could also just fucking deal with it.
It's
It's Halloween. Shut the fuck up.
Everyone deserves a little, a scare, whatever the line is. So yeah. That's John. He's married to Deborah. They live, we don't know this yet, but they live in the Myers house.
Yeah.
Their daughter has returned to live with them, Kara.
Now, this is something I asked you about the other day because they're at dinner or breakfast, I think.
Yeah.
And they're at the dinner table eating in the early part of the day, breakfast. And the father looks at her, the daughter, and is basically like waiting for her to say something, anything. And she says something. And he's like, well, where the fuck have you been for the last 10 years?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. So obviously this man is like a raging dickhead and like has like social problems with her.
Yes, absolutely.
But then it's like, so what I asked you when we were watching it is like, pay attention to this. Pay attention to their social dynamic. The fact that he's mad that she just showed back up. Does that matter at all to the movie? If she had lived there the entire time, would it have changed anything? Does her having come back change anything? The only thing I can think of is that she needs to be introduced to Tommy Doyle, that she doesn't know Tommy by name.
Right.
And that maybe if she had lived there the whole time, she would. But you could just as easily have said that Tommy moved from down the street into this boarding house.
Or that she went to college and has come back, but she needs the kid because Danny plays.
But you could just say that the kid is 6 years old and that her dad, or that the kid's dad was a cop who got killed in the police station.
Yeah.
You could do any number of things,
Or it could be her younger brother and not her kid.
Sure, but it's like they set so much time and energy up to go, this father is mad at this daughter because they are estranged. But does that matter at all?
It does not pay off really in any way.
It adds nothing.
No. You know what it is? It is them it's them attempting to trick you into thinking that these characters have depth.
Yeah. Absolutely it is.
If they're estranged, if he's a real jerk to her for whatever reason, that will hold. You'll care more.
And listen, you can just be a piece of shit. You don't need to hate her because of whatever reason. Just be an asshole dad.
Yeah.
Maybe she's still living at home to take care of mom because you don't like her or hit her or whatever.
Yeah. Or you're a drunk.
Because he kind of checks all those boxes.
Yes,
I don't know that he out and out hits the mom.
No, but he slaps Kara here.
Yeah.
And then in that little like back and forth, Danny is then holding a knife to him.
Which again could have been interesting.
Yes. In the producer's cut, he actually, in the fight that they're having, he hears the voice again, kill for me. And he looks out the window and sees Michael standing there. It's this really quick little aside.
Which I made the joke that if it were Halloween 5, Michael would just be standing under a tree and just standing there. But then that would be real life. And it's not a vision or anything. He's just there.
Yeah, he's just hanging out.
That's how they treat him in 5. It's just like, oh no, he's over there.
He's around somewhere. He's over there.
The town's filled with trash. He's in the trash. Look, he's right there in the trash.
So they leave for school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how old Kara is supposed to be.
I assume 20s.
I guess because, okay, so she sends Danny off to school.
Mm-hmm.
She leaves to go with her younger brother, Tim Strode, who's played by Keith Bogart, who also was in an episode of Party of Five. And he was in the 2019 horror film Velvet Buzzsaw, which has Jake Gyllenhaal in it.
Son of Humphrey Bogart?
Yeah. This is what he's doing, slumming it in Halloween 6. And they meet up with Tim's girlfriend, Beth. No last name given.
Yeah.
Mariah O'Brien is who plays her. She was in an episode of Charmed, which stars Rose McGowan. She was in an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and she was in Being John Malkovich.
What the fuck?
She did some other things, but those are the interesting ones.
Yeah, it's just the first two are like, oh, okay. And then the third one is like, what the fuck?
But they hop in a car together to go to school, but we never really see any of them in school or doing anything because that scene is so brief that nothing happens, which is a running theme in this movie. Is just snippets of scenes where they deliver 2 lines of dialogue and then we cut to the next thing.
It's a wide net.
Yes.
It's a wide net. If we shoot a bunch of scenes in a bunch of different ways with a bunch of different line deliveries, somebody will like at least one of them.
Yeah, we'll just piece this all together in editing. It's like Star Wars. It'll be saved in the editing booth.
It's like Frankenstein. It's a bunch of pieces of dead meat stapled together for one last chance of fame and fortune.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, really.
It just makes me sad.
We also are introduced, finally, I guess, to Tommy. Tommy Doyle, it's revealed later, like I said, played by Paul Rudd, introduced in this film.
That's the credit.
Yeah.
Starring and introducing.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I mean, good for him.
Yeah.
He was in all 6 episodes of a very short-lived sitcom called Wild Oats that was in 1994. Probably the most famous thing he's in is he was in Clueless after this.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the role in Clueless while he's working on this film.
Okay.
Because Mariah O'Brien talks about in some of the special features, like running lines with him. Then he was in 97, there's a drama film called The Locusts starring Vince Vaughn.
Okay.
He was in a dark comedy in 1999 called 200 Cigarettes. That had Ben Affleck in it.
So he's working with a lot of people.
Affleck would go on to be Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, there's a thread here. He was also in the Cider House Rules in 99. Tobey Maguire's in that movie. Tobey would then go on to be Spider-Man. And then he was in a movie called P.S., like what you write in a letter,
Okay.
P.S. That was in 2004 with Topher Grace, who was in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny that he like kind of just works with people who then go on to be like superheroes and things and like have like really big roles and things. But I don't
He's
know.
just the Halloween 6 guy.
Yeah, kind of obscure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I normally find interesting things and connections with people. That's the best I can kind of do with Paul Rudd.
Yeah, it really. There's just not much gravity to that.
No, I go back and forth on his performance in this movie because I think part of it works for me in him being, you got to think he was 8 years old. If he's Tommy Doyle,
Mm-hmm.
Laurie Strode was his babysitter in the events of the original Halloween. He's almost been murdered by Michael before. He has continued living in this town for the rest of these years.
Mm-hmm.
He now lives in the house across the street from the Myers house,
Right.
a house that he was too afraid to even come off the,
Stoop of, yeah.
yeah. And he's like a conspiracy nut because he's like kept up with everything. We see his room in this, and he's got like newspaper clippings all over the walls and the ceiling.
Yeah.
Of like every headline that's ever happened about Michael or the murders in the town or disappearances or anything like that. And in the voiceover at the beginning, like he's the one who's like, from our clip where he says that he believes that Jamie, they say that she's been killed, but he thinks that she was taken somewhere and like, has been held. So I don't know. He's got this like,
which there would be splitting hairs here, but there'd be no reason for him to think any of that. There's no foundational basis for him to have any conspiracy theories about any of this Thorn bullshit at all.
No, because Loomis is surprised whenever Jamie ends up, still alive or having been alive all this time. He thinks that she died in the explosion that happened at the police station at the end of 5.
So you know what you do to fix that? You make Tommy, instead of like a weird creep conspiracy theorist, you make him like, well, yeah, I grew up and I wanted to make this town a safer place, so I became a cop. Now I'm a detective.
Yeah.
And I've been using, the training that I received from the Force to, well, no, I guess they could make him a detective because he would have died one of the last 2 movies.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they kill every cop in these movies.
They don't like him.
They don't. That's crazy.
Good for them. That's getting cut. Tommy is listening to, he was recording the radio station last night. And so he has Jamie's call on tape.
Right.
And
the only reason I can think that he was recording is because he called in and he's like, this is too far away. He doesn't have podcasts yet. He can't get a mic and record himself. So he called into the radio show and he's like, well, I want to listen to the cool ass shit I say back. So he recorded the whole show that night.
You're probably right. That's what I would have done. But in that, he's listening to Jamie's call and he hears in the background noise that basically an announcement that happened at this bus station. So he pieces together that the call must have been made from a bus station. So he goes there, very oddly talks to the person at the, counter. Yeah. Which is every interaction he has with anyone who isn't Kara and Loomis in this whole movie.
It's just a psycho.
Yeah, it is a psycho.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by like, half of his performance, I'm like, okay, I get you. I like what you're kind of doing here. And then the rest of it, I'm like, that was the decision? What are we doing here?
Right.
But he pieces together this whole mystery and he follows, he just happens to go to the exact
bathroom on the exact floor, goes into the stall.
And the exact phone booth that she was in. Cause then he looks down, he sees the blood and follows that into the bathroom and then looks around and just like, oh, kind of piecing together what must have happened. And then the baby cries. And
which thank God it didn't last night when there was the murderer.
Right. Or
God willing.
Or any time during the rest of the 12 hours that it's been.
Nobody's been in there at all.
No.
The baby's been left completely alone. I don't know if you know this, but babies, even when they're not left alone and not hungry and don't need anything, they still cry.
They cry like all the time?
All the time, yeah.
Especially a newborn who was born the night before.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Also, for a baby born yesterday, that baby's big.
Yeah. Healthy. He finds the baby in his cabinet and takes it with him. We get another scene with Loomis and Wynn. They are basically they've gone back to Smith's Grove, and the woman who works there at the front desk, she's like, "Oh, didn't you hear? Jamie Lloyd's body was found. She was killed near Haddonfield." And so then they go to the barn that Jamie was killed at. Now, this is these are two scenes that are basically those two lines of dialogue. They come in, they have a little moment, and then somebody goes, "Well, no, didn't you hear? Jamie's body was found." And they go, "Oh my God, we're going to go." And they leave. And then the next time we see them is they show up to this barn and they walk up and there's police all around and they're like taking Jamie's body away on a stretcher or a gurney. And there's these hay bales stacked to the ceiling in this barn
with the stupid fucking rune burned into them,
which, I mean, that means Michael took the time.
Yeah, it's Batman in The Dark Knight Rises painting the bridge with the bat signal light on fire. It's like, well, if you could have done all that, you had time to do more stuff.
And like, yeah, when and why did he do it? And he just singed it enough to make the imprint, but not to just catch it all on fire and burn. Yeah, he must have. It's still smoking though whenever we're looking at it.
And if you're in the producer's cut, it pans into Jamie's face.
Yes.
And
okay.
you pointed out that she is the worst corpse actor of all time.
Now, with the thought of, because I thought, oh, they're doing like the Nancy Loomis, Annie Brackett being a corpse in Halloween 2, where her eyes are moving under, her lids, and she's a terrible corpse. Beautiful, terrible.
Yeah.
But I thought they were doing kind of a similar thing. With the reveal later that Jamie is still alive, I think they had her do it on purpose.
Yeah, possibly.
So that we, the audience, are clued into, oh, she's not actually dead.
It's just...
But Loomis believes she is.
Is it smart enough to do that?
I don't know.
Is it smart enough to have him drive the Smiths Grove van to give a clue? Like, that's what... I don't think so. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm cynical.
The only real line of dialogue here that Loomis gives in both cuts is that the thorn is his mark, which hasn't been established
ever.
The high school scene that I've already mentioned.
When would he have gotten the tattoo?
I don't know.
When would Michael have gotten a tattoo on his wrist? After Halloween 2, and he burns basically to fucking death.
He's then in the hospital for the next 10 years.
Right. Where he was
like
for 10 years.
Psychiatric hospital.
Yeah, where he was in between the first killing of Judith Myers and then the babysitter murders.
Right.
He was in the hospital. So was it like, oh, you know what it was? It's the guy who lives in the tree in Halloween 5 gave him a stick and poke.
Okay. That makes sense.
What it was.
That's great. I'm happy for him.
I don't understand. Please continue.
Kara and Tim and Beth make it to the high school, where we get a great scene of them walking up to the school, and Kara is like rifling around in her bag, and she pulls out another drawing that Danny has done. It looks like a kid drawing, but it is of her entire family being stabbed to death.
Right.
And then there's just like a black cloak that says the word thorn.
Literally written. I'm surprised it doesn't have like a backwards R. Or like a backwards N, like kid drawing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a black shape that says thorn on it.
In the producer's cut, we get a little bit more of this scene where the camera kind of follows along with Jamie, with Kara rather. And she like hears a girl scream, and so she like, snaps around, and it's two people like making out on one of the park benches or whatever. And then, she walks along the sidewalk and she stops, and she turns around and looks around at everything, and she thinks she's being followed. And then as she turns away, Michael steps into frame, very much like he does in the Myers house,
right?
As Laurie was on the stoop. Then at the hospital, Tommy goes in there, takes the baby with him. This is another, odd interaction.
This is the weirdest moment in the movie to me, is he's like, he's like, hey, I need a doctor for my baby. And she asks him like the simplest question.
It's like, yeah, well, you're going to have to just fill out this form. And
he's like, I need a fucking doctor. Write the fuck down. Get me a fucking doctor. And she's like, okay, I'm going to call security.
And then he turns away and it's just like, Dr. Loomis?
Yeah.
Like he's just back to
like, oh, hey, man. You know what it reminds me a lot of? It reminds me of the fucking Always Sunny in Philadelphia moment where Dee is in the hospital to give birth and Dennis freaks the fuck out. It's the classic Hammer of Thor line and he screams at that woman and she's like, you know what? I don't have time for this. And she gets up and walks off. That's all I could think of because that woman's like, okay, you know what? No, I'm calling security. Fuck you. Because he's like, get me a fucking, and he freaks the fuck out.
And it's 0 to 10.
And there's no reason.
No.
It's jarring.
It is like if you weren't paying attention, this is one of those like if you were nodding off for a second, that would snap you back into it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that it's like the parrot in
Screech.
in Citizen Kane, which is
where the kid was. Yeah. That's my favorite thing I think that's ever been said on this show.
He talks to Loomis and Loomis, I don't know. They have some conversation about like
Loomis is like, who the fuck are you? And he's like, I'm little Tommy Doyle.
And he's like, I like Loomis's performance right here. Like the realization of like, oh my God, Tommy, this is you. Like I haven't seen you in X years because I'm not doing the math right now.
I also haven't spent a lot of time with you.
Right. It was just the one time, but like
it wasn't a good time either.
No. You ran past me as I waved a gun around before going inside and shooting a man 6 times.
Oh my God.
But he, the main thing is they explain like, yeah, Michael kills his bloodline. Well, Jamie was the last of his bloodline. No, this kid is.
And he's like, no, you don't understand. The Strodes, the family that adopted Lori, they live in the Myers house now. And then later Loomis gives a line. I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but Loomis gives a line where he's like, oh, everyone who lives in that house is his family. And it's like, they are? Why? What precedent does this set? Because none of them were in his house in the first movie. In the second movie, they were in a fucking hospital. None of them were in the house in the fourth movie. Why are they saying, oh, he's killing his family? And if they're in the house, like that's like a compulsion of his. That's his mark. Or, that's what he does. He kills these people. It's like, you can't just fucking say that. The man wrote a Bible. Do you know what I mean? He wrote a Bible about this stuff.
It's important. It's gospel, as they say. The Myers house. Michael is watching Deborah Strode from across the street. Again, it's doing the thing where like he's steps into frame, and we see him from behind. But they do it like they show too much of him.
Yeah,
like in those because it's like you said, like the hair. It's just like it's all over the place. It's sticking up, and it doesn't look great. She is doing laundry. She goes down into the basement. We have this set up for a great payoff later, where the clothes washer is like on the fritz.
This scene is so long.
Yes.
And so boring.
Yes.
And nothing important happens.
No.
The only kind of important thing that happens is she sees the man, the myth, the Pleasance. He shows up and he's like, hey, I got a bunch of exposition to deliver.
Yep.
The problem is that it's exposition that we just had delivered.
Yes.
So we are now getting information again from a more interesting source and to a different, more interesting place for that information to go. But at the same time, it's like we just heard all this. And he explains it all, Myers is evil and I'm sleepy, so I'm going to go now. And
yeah, it is his one scene to kind of get all of that out. Yeah. And he has those little moments where like it's very that calm and then he snaps and he's up, high energy for a second, then he's back down calm again.
It was classic Pleasance moves. Yeah. He knows how to do the moves. He knows how to do the Pleasance. He gets really quiet and he talks about it. He's like, you don't understand. And it's just like, oh, shit. Yeah. It's classic. But then all of that ends up being she puts it together that John, her husband's brother,
yes,
who is the adoptive father of Laurie Strode, couldn't sell through Strode Realty, couldn't sell the Myers house because of the things it was famous for.
Right. Makes sense.
So to not take a loss on it, the brother, our main character's dad, moves his family into the house. She calls him with, she being Deborah, calls John, the husband, with a missive. A man named Loomis just came here and told me a bunch of fucking crazy shit. I know what you did. I forgive you anyway. We're leaving. We want you to come with us. And he is just so belligerent and shitty. And he's like, you've been watching too many of your stupid movies, you worm.
Why would you let this man in our house?
Kick rocks. Fuck you. And at one point she's like, I love you, John. I want you to come with us. And he's like, fuck off. And he hangs up the phone. And then he's literally like, well, then he opens his drawer and pulls out a fucking handle of bourbon. And he's like, time to get drinking. And you made the joke how great it would be if Loomis came in. I was just like, that bottle looks mighty heavy.
I ain't got no diseases.
A movie is bad when your favorite parts of it are the bits you and your friends make up to get through the movie.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's a lot of this.
Yeah.
We get a little scene where Tommy it's the Blankenship. He lives at the Blankenship house. That's that woman's name. But he is there. He's cleaning up the baby. Written in assumed blood on its like chest is the thorn symbol. And so Tommy like cleans up the baby.
Which is preposterous.
Uh-huh.
It's preposterous.
That, what part of it?
All of it, but specifically like, oh, I got to clean off this baby, but it's been so long. You found him in a bathroom, Thomas. Clean him there.
Yeah. Why is it taking him all day? You went to the hospital. Now he's back at your house.
Also, and I know that this isn't the most important part, but movie, please don't show baby penis. There's no reason.
That was like one of my first watches of this movie. Like that was my initial thought. It's just like, why for this long of a shot?
Yeah.
Are we just sitting here seeing this? Do anything. Put him in. I get it. He's a newborn. Wrap him in a cloth of some kind.
He's in a cloth.
Yeah.
And you've exposed the cloth to show the Curse of Thorn thing, but paint it smaller on his fucking forehead.
Yeah.
Put it on his chest exclusively. But I get that it's technically not nudity for the MPAA because it's like it's a newborn, but it's weird.
It's very weird.
It's baby dick for a long time.
Too long.
Well, any long is too long.
Yeah. You're right.
Sometimes some of the shit we have to talk about on this show, it's like, I don't want to talk about this. And I get mad because it's like, Halloween 6, you piece of shit. You're making me talk about baby dick.
Yeah.
On my show.
Yeah. Please don't. He calls he just decides arbitrarily to call him Steven, the baby.
Yeah. He's like, you look like a Steven.
But I don't know if he ever calls him that again. I think it's just
no. I think he does
later.
Like at least one other time.
Okay.
But why?
I don't know. He looks like a Steven to me.
But that's the thing. Call him Sam. Name him Loomis. Name him. You know what you should name him? Name him fucking Ghostface. Come here. You look like a Ghostface. Give me a little Ghostface.
That it hadn't happened yet.
Inspire it.
Yeah.
Do something, Halloween. Don't just call him Steven. Calling the baby Steven is the absolute, like, epitome of this movie.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, well, we've got this baby and he's covered in blood. Like, he's like a cult baby or whatever. Spoilers for the big reveal that I haven't bothered mentioning yet, but is really disgusting in the producer's cut. It's also the bastard son of the woman who gives birth to him, who we point out at the top of this episode is 15 years old. That's her uncle's baby. Yeah. Michael Myers is a rapist now, which is great because, in our Child's Play discussion, we talked about the fact that, like, you can kind of make an assumption that maybe Charles Lee Ray did some sexually untoward things in Curse to the mother of Nika. You can kind of make that assumption, but it's not definitive. Right. It's not definitive that he is a rapist. But, like, oh, no, the producer's cut of Halloween 6, Michael Myers, the classic, the OG, the boogeyman, the shape, is the first rapist we've had to talk about. He rapes his niece. Yeah, which is just really sad and stupid, and also doesn't pay off to anything or mean anything of any kind of substantial weight.
No, other than it's all about, like, I don't know, killing the bloodline or producing an heir to then pass the curse on to. It's unclear.
I guess all of it is like you could have done that a million other ways. You didn't need to make a fucking uncle niece incest rape baby.
Right.
That we are, again, the little girl character we've been following for the last 2 movies is forced to give birth to and then murdered over subsequently. Like we don't need that to happen.
No.
But you have all of this horrific stuff that is surrounding this baby, all of this drama, all of this like really terrible shit. And it's like, I don't know, call it Steven. Why? I don't know. It's the first name I thought of. Fuck off. Mm-hmm. We're busy. We got a schedule to keep. We're the Weinsteins. We're very busy at this point in history doing things that are, kind of similar to the stuff I just talked about very, very recently. I'm not saying what, but we all know what it is.
Allegedly.
Well, no, not Harvey. Harvey did that shit. We know that. But Bob, allegedly.
Yeah. We don't know.
I don't know.
Tommy is very protective of this baby.
Sure.
He then bumps into Danny on the street.
Yep.
Danny drops his pumpkin and it smashes.
Oh.
It's just what happened to Tommy all those years
when
ago.
He was blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they go back to the Myers house to hang out.
Okay, but there's another.
Actually, no, because the scene that happens before that is with Deborah, and it is her she makes that call to John.
Right.
She's like, I'm leaving.
Oh, yeah. She gets killed here.
Yeah. She goes and packs her clothes upstairs and she comes back down. And you and I tried to figure this out.
So she walks down the stairs and the camera focuses in on her face reacting to something. And then the camera pans down to what she's looking at. And it's like, there's like a wardrobe and like some odds and ends. And then there's like a bucket of paint with a roller.
Yeah.
And it really focuses in on the paint. It cuts back to her and she looks really unnerved. And then it cuts back to the paint way closer. So that's the only thing in the shot. So it's like, okay, so the paint being inside is triggering her to know that someone else is also inside. But there's nothing up to that point about paint.
Yeah, nothing that jumps to mind.
But then even more than that, if there were something, that was like 15 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago. Loomis has come and gone. She's
Maybe he brought it inside. Maybe he was like, hey, I don't want this to dry out there.
I get out but notice that Haddonfield's kind of gone to hell. I figured I'd help you paint over the black mold. I once found a dead dog half eaten in this house right there.
Maybe that's because that would have been right about where that dead dog would be.
Is the paint.
Yeah.
That's what it was, is that what she's looking at, what the camera doesn't see is that Loomis has painted an outline of the dead dog on the floor in the white paint. But then, she's killed, and it's an homage to the first movie because she runs outside and she's trying to get away from Michael, and she runs outside into laundry, hanging sheets.
Just 1,000 sheets.
And he kills her by stabbing her and blood splatters.
It's an axe, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, he stabs her with an axe.
I guess. Blood.
Chops her then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blood sprays on the white fabric. It kind of cuts back to him for like a second.
I hate this whole sequence.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's because she also, that's the other thing, is she looks up at him. This person who basically just found out that the legends are real.
Right.
And she looks up and she goes, Michael. And it's like, it cuts to his reaction of that. And then he kills her. And it's like, was that supposed to mean something?
Yeah.
Like what is this?
I don't know. There's also, she just runs through. Again, it's the editing of the whole thing. It's this rapid fire cutting of like her running, and I think it's supposed to make you feel like disoriented, like she is. And like, I guess in that way it does. It just doesn't look good. You're
disoriented by accident.
Right.
It's not like, no one could tell me that was intentional. It's quick cut. Oh, we're going to make it really sporadic. But what you do is you completely lose the geography of the space. You completely use these sheets to do that already. Mm-hmm. But now you're not following them in any order. You're just cutting around them. So you lose track of where you are. Yeah. And it's you need the spatial awareness to feel the tension of somebody being behind her. But you're not doing that. You're basically just superimposing him behind her. And it's like, I don't care.
No,
I don't care about this character. I have no reason to care. Just get it done with. Do a cool effect, because that's what these movies are at this point. And then they don't even do that.
No.
It's an off-camera blood spatter. And it's like, great. even that little thing you fucked up.
Yeah. Kara comes home. She makes her way inside, looks around, can't find mom, and then finds Danny and Tommy and the baby, Steven, up in Danny's room.
Stevie Doyle.
And yeah.
Stevie Doyle Lloyd.
They go over across the street to Tommy's house because basically he's like, you shouldn't stay in your house.
Yeah.
Come over here. Come into my room where I have all of these newspapers on the walls.
I'm not insane, I promise.
Yeah. And I will explain to you the Curse of Thorn.
Which he does, and it's exhausting.
Using a computer program.
Yeah, he clicks play on the internet, and it shows her the runes, like in the 90s.
Yeah.
By the way, just for those of you at home, I'm going to give you the plot of the movie now. The runes are an ancient alphabet that the Celts used, and there's one that's evil, and it's the Thorn one. And so there's got to be a death cult that uses the Curse of Thorn. It's a death curse. And they use the Curse of Thorn to make Michael Myers a puppet because he hears the voice. And that's what they're doing to Danny. And that's why they made Michael do that to his niece. That's the plot, is his runes.
Yeah. It's the symbol that we've seen. It's also a constellation, and that apparently the constellation shows up every year that Michael goes on a killing spree.
Yeah.
And so he breaks down like all the years that it happened. Now, my question is like, it was like 1963 and then 1978. There's like 15 years in between that. Yeah. Then 10 years to 88. Then 1 year to 89. And now another 6 years to 95.
Well, do you know why? Because that's actually really easy.
Okay.
It's all bullshit. And none of that has ever been taken into consideration by anybody writing any kind of Bible for this fucking franchise until right now when when you see the stars, when everything the light touches will be murdered by Michael Myers. And it's like, why?
Because like we have mapped the stars forever. And so it's like we know whenever, Halley's Comet comes back around every X amount of years, but like we know it.
Yeah.
It's like clockwork. It's not like, well, it'll be here like in 2 years, and then it's going to take a break for a while. It'll come back in 12, and then we might see it in 20.
Yeah.
So
it's fucking wild. It is wild in that regard, but it's also wild in like, oh yeah, by the way, in the movie with the babysitter murders, like that's kind of the most grounded, realistic take on like serial killing in a movie thus far. Oh no, all of that is because of evil letter magic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. You've taken the only interesting part. The thing to me that always separated Halloween, like watching them all back to back to back to back to back to back to back. If you look at the original Halloween, the original Friday the 13th, and the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Mm-hmm. Nightmare on Elm Street is like fantastical. It is magic to whatever degree that they would then go on and explain in 1,000 ways. Yeah. It is magic in some way. And then Friday the 13th, it's like it is and it isn't, because it's like the whole movie, what you find out by the traditional ending is like, no, it's just a psycho woman. But then at the end, it's like, oh no, that kid was alive. So how much of that, you get that little cliffhanger. But Halloween, it's just, no, he was just a person who killed people because he was clinically ill. He was sick in the mind. And so then you've taken the stupidest parts of all of that and shoved it into this movie, because I truly believe that the people who built it are watching these other franchises and going, well, we need some of that too.
Well, yeah, it worked for them.
Yeah.
It's got to work for us, right?
Freddy's cursed or whatever, so Michael will have the thing. And that's probably why in 5 you get the little hints of it without any real explanation, is because they're like, well, what if we just kind of slid some of that shit in there?
Yeah. I mean, you say that he was just a person. I say that, Miss B, who runs this house that Tommy lives in, that she was babysitting Michael on the night that he killed his sister Judith. And that before he did that, he heard the voice.
Now, there are some times when I do this bit on this show where I like lean into the mic and I speak really close to it to show that I'm being serious. I do it a lot, and I'm worried that I'm overdoing it. So in the sake of not overdoing it, I'm going to do it again right now, but with all that preamble. Why would you admit to being the babysitter of the child who kills a girl in the house years. So like that's basically being like, well, yeah, but I was the bank security that day, the day that the Union Allied Bank got robbed. Like I was the security guard. It's like, well, you didn't do your job. You had one thing that you had to do. You didn't do it. But yeah, she's like, he heard the voice. Something possessed him to kill that girl.
And your boy Danny hears the voice as well.
And I have a knife. Surprise.
That's later. Because thankfully we then get John Strode's death. He comes home in a drunken stupor.
Yeah, and he goes, oh my God. He walks around and he's like, hey, bitch, where you at? I'm drunk. At one point, he literally goes, thanks for dinner, because there's no dinner on the table. He's like the biggest piece of shit on earth.
He's the worst.
And normally you root for those characters to die, but like, I didn't care.
No, not really. Lights cut out, goes in the basement. Washer is still running somehow.
It's a 9-hour wash cycle.
Even when the power's out?
Yeah, he's got really bad grass stains.
Okay. And
going out there chopping down signs.
Yeah, that's true. And then Michael, grabs him from behind and throws him into this breaker box that's on the wall.
Yeah.
And in the theatrical cut, he fries to death and then his head explodes.
Yeah.
In the producer's cut, he does not do that. He gets fried. He dies, electrocuted, but his head does not explode.
So the shock jock has finally gotten to Haddonfield, and it's like they've been kind of showing the man in black from different angles throughout this whole movie, like it fucking matters. And then all of a sudden there's a guy who's dressed as a man in black, walks up onto a stage in like the fedora and whatever, and he turns around and he like pulls his shirt open, and it's like, what's up? It's me, the guy from the radio from the beginning of the movie. And you're like, oh, right.
That's the thing that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Barry Sims is his name. Oh, good. And they're at the Halloween Shock Fest Festival, which is in the, park in town. Basically they have a quick conversation, he and Beth and Tim, and they reveal that Tim lives in the Myers house. And so he's like, oh, well, we should be doing the show from there. Let's pack up and go over there. So he leaves, and they go to, meet him there.
Yeah.
And he gets into his van, and Michael just happens to also be in the van.
Yeah.
And kill him.
He's looking for hard candies.
He must.
Yeah.
And then we cut to eventually Tommy is like out looking. He's told Kara and Danny and them to stay at the Blankenship house. Don't go back to your house. You can watch from my window, see if anything's up. And so he's like at the festival as well.
Which means that Kara watched her dad get murdered and was like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
it was.
It's fine.
So he hears this little girl saying,
it's raining red. It's raining red.
Yeah.
It's warm. It's raining red. And
he walks around this tree to find this girl who's like in an angel costume covered in blood, and looks up, and there is Barry's dead body wrapped in,
Halloween,
like Halloween Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Which means that after stabbing him in the van,
right,
Michael then had to. Now, Michael likes to stage bodies. We know that.
Yeah. But the timeline here is that at the Myers house, he kills the father, then goes all the way to wherever this is happening.
Yeah.
A car ride away, finds perfectly and kills the radio host. And then in the middle of a festival, climbs a tree, wraps him in Christmas lights, gets back down and away before a little girl walks up and starts dancing and singing in the blood.
Yeah. Nobody saw him do it in a crowded Halloween party.
Hey man, he's the shape. He's like the boogeyman or whatever. He does what he does.
That's what they call him. Beth and Tim make it back to the Myers house. And again, we get more exposition from Beth explaining to Tim what happened to Judith Myers.
Now we're talking about TNA. And this is a weird example wherein she's like, she is about to have sex with this.
Oh no, I think they just have had sex.
Well, she's laying nude. And there is a candle light, and the flame of the candle is directly in front of her nip.
Yeah.
And then as the scene progresses,
it's strangely like this artistic choice. It feels like of like, oh my God, they're censoring this with the candle flame.
And then the camera moves.
Yeah.
And she
leans up into frame.
I was like, oh, never mind.
So I do have a bit of an answer for that. When she got the role, she was reading for a different role. She had gone out to be Kara.
Okay.
And they were like, I don't feel like you're right for that. What about Beth? Read for Beth. Got the part. Well, Beth was, had a topless scene. So like, are you comfortable with that? And she's like, well, I mean, not really. That's not what I signed up for. That's why I was going for the other role. And they were like, okay, well, would you consider whatever? And so she gave them like rules of like, you could only show me from this angle for this amount of time, like actual, nudity.
Her not realizing that pause buttons exist.
Yes.
So anybody can look at that for however long they want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. At the time, I'm sure they didn't think too much of it because like the home video market was newer at that point.
Fair
but
enough.
yeah, those were her agreements, and that's why it is this like little scene like that. Tim goes and takes a shower. They do this bit where he's like, honey, it's cold. Get me a towel.
He's like, honey, I'm freezing. There's steam everywhere.
Uh-huh.
It's obviously hot as fuck. He's like, I'm freezing to death, honey. Get me a towel.
And then a towel is handed to him.
Michael, thinking that my honey, Tim is referring to himself, gives him a towel.
Yeah.
And then gives him a murder.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's a stupid, ugly kill. It doesn't make any fucking sense. He slits his throat in a mirror. But one thing I will say is I think it's completely by accident. He slashes the knife across Tim's throat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like obviously like a fake blood knife. It squirts the blood from the knife onto the neck. That's the prop. But he like George P. Wilbur pulls it too far, and the knife goes across his arm as well. So there's like a bloody line on his arm. And that was effective for me. The mistake. Yeah. Because it's like, oh, what if he just kept going and like cut his arm open? Because he's just like a fucking monster. And I thought about that for a full second. And then by the time I caught back up with the movie, I was like, nah, they didn't do that on purpose. And I just fucking flushed that thought down the toilet because so did they.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I hadn't noticed that or thought about it like that. That is, it adds a level of something.
It would, in any other movie, it would be like, oh, that's like kind of gross.
Yeah.
It's the fucking, you know what it is? It's the Halloween 4 neck rip. Because it's like, you would never think in a horror movie with like a methodical slasher serial killer that he just pulls his fucking head off. Yeah. But it's like, no, it works. It's brainless. It's not precise. And that at least that had the sense to do that.
Right.
I don't think this movie has that sense.
Probably not. Kara picks that exact moment then to, for whatever reason, call across the street to her house where Beth picks up. She's surprised that Beth is there, asked where her mother is. They have not seen her. And then she's like, well, you got to get out of that house. Get Tim, get out. And then Michael comes in and stabs Beth to death.
Right. At which point it is shown that Kara can see.
Yes.
So like, what have you been doing?
Yeah.
You're in a man's house. You're worried about your family getting killed by a serial killer. In this universe, the most prolific and feared serial killer of all time. And you found out that you live in his old house. What do you just sit on the fucking chair with your kid drawing pictures with the word Thorn in it? Like, what are you doing?
He's really good at that.
He's the best at it. He's also the best at being a dead-eyed cretin.
Yeah. As he walks back across the street to the Myers house. So the next sequence is one that I've already kind of hinted at, and we can very quickly go through it because it is just the events of the finale of the original film. Yeah. Just done worse. Kara goes across the street to follow Danny. She goes into the Myers house, sees that he has gone upstairs. She grabs a fire poker, right? Which is the second or third time that we have had a heroine in one of our movies that we've discussed. Use that as a weapon. She goes upstairs.
Is Ash a heroine?
Yeah.
His name is Ashley.
Yeah, that's true. And he's beautiful.
He's beautiful.
Want to smooch him.
He's the one that the ladies wanted to look at.
That's true.
Hey, if you guys want to get more context of that, listen to our discussions on Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2.
You really should. Those are fun.
Those are good movies.
This is not fun.
That's a bad movie.
She finds Beth and Tim's body in the bed.
That are like propped up to be like, but it's not, they're not made to look human. He just kind of like smashes them into the bed.
Yeah, they're just laid in the bed. They're bloody.
Over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the blood is, and I know this is a stupid complaint. The blood is terrible.
Yeah.
It's like way too bright red. It looks like ketchup. Like it's just terrible.
Yeah. Michael appears and starts chasing. This is the like Halloween score kicks in here. Deborah's body, or the mother, swings down from the presumed entrance to the attic, much like Bob's in the original. Kara hits Michael with the poker, and he tumbles down these stairs into the foyer of this house. She goes down, and Danny is then there. And so she has to cautiously step over Michael's body, grab Danny, to get him away.
He grabs her by the ankle.
And then she smacks him again with the poker.
So none of that meant anything.
None of that meant anything.
What we don't see, it happens off camera. They talk about it in the commentary, is that at this moment, Michael leans over, takes a quick bite out of the dog, gets his energy back. So sorry.
Okay. This whole sequence is just, they're trying so hard to pay homage to the original.
I don't think that they're paying homage. I think they are re-engineering out of creative, a creative void.
Yeah.
Well, what worked in the first one, I don't know. Just do that again.
Well, and what's funny is, this is the thought that I had watching it, was people, and we talked about it in our discussions, people who watch Halloween today, if they've never watched it before, will go, man, this is kind of boring. It's slow. Nothing really happens in this. This is doing the exact same thing, but like it feels like an eternity.
Yeah.
Because, and it doesn't take as long. They don't take the time to build the tension. They're trying to force the tension, but then nothing really pays off or happens because of it. And so it's just wasted opportunity.
It's wasted. And the reason you can't force tension with this movie is because you're trying to force tension on characters that we do not care if they live or die. I don't fucking care about any of these people. All we've seen are their negative sides, and that Kara's got a hard life. Great. By the time that Laurie is running away from these people, we have spent an hour with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, who gives a shit?
Yeah. Tommy and Loomis, I don't know if they've been tooling around together. I don't know what's been happening during this period of time.
It's
because
like the first one where Loomis is just wandering the street.
Because they show up and basically the baby is missing from where he was left at the
Steven.
Yeah, Steven.
Steven, the baby, was stolen.
And they make it back to the Blankenship house. And Danny hears the voice, walks into the other room, and we get our big reveal, where Danny is just comfortably sitting on the lap of the man in black.
Yeah.
And who is it, PJ?
It's the guy who manages Smith's Grove.
Dr. Wynn.
Yeah, Smith's Grove is where the birth happened in the beginning, and why Michael's got the car or the van, or maybe not. Who knows? Who cares? But the whole point is that Smith's Grove is now where all of the evil came from. It's where it began. It's the reason it all happened. You know, the asylum that a boy was taken to after he killed his sister. Well, that's actually manufactured. It's all on purpose.
It's also revealed because Kara goes upstairs at that point, because like two other like people cloaked come out to grab everybody. And he's like, you know, be careful with the girl. And so she runs upstairs, and Miss Blankenship is there, and she has the baby, and she's also in on it. And this is where she reveals her big knife.
Her big knife. It reminds me of Hereditary.
Yeah.
All these old people appearing out of nowhere with knives. Like, oh God, you're in on it?
Yeah, I guess. I don't make that connection. I make the connection more, but this is a big spoiler for a non-horror film, of Hot Fuzz. A much better film than this.
Infinitely. I would love to have seen Halloween 6 directed by Edgar Wright.
Oh, man.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Kara jumps out of the window, and we get, again, because we're doing everything that we did in the original, we get the shot of her down laying in the yard, just like Michael was.
Like, even in the same like arms and legs pose. Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous.
Now, in the theatrical cut, then like Tommy and Loomis end up just outside, and they're just like, why didn't they kill us? I don't know. Well, let's go to Smith's Grove. And that's the scene.
Yeah.
In this one, she jumps, in the producer's cut, she jumps out, she's on the ground, fade to black, and then she wakes up and she's tied to the like sacrificial altar from the beginning of the movie. And then Tommy same sort of thing happens where like Tommy's like, well, why didn't they kill us? And Loomis is like, I don't know. I think we were drugged. And then still same thing. They end up at
They
Smith's
wanted
Grove.
our bodies, Tommy.
This is where the movie takes, depending on which cut you're watching, drastically different like avenues here.
Yeah.
And they're not, neither of them are great.
No, and they're just as confusing as each other. I'm going to go through the theatrical as quickly as I can.
Mm-hmm.
It is, they're revealed to be under Smith's Grove, and they got to get away. And Michael is like the henchman, so he's chasing them around. And then at one point, oh my God, I'm so lost already. They go into this room and there's like a bunch of fetuses floating in green liquid.
Yeah, they're running around, and like Kara is held in a room at first, and Tommy breaks her out, and then Michael's chasing them. They end up in this like examination room or experimentation room. I don't know what it's supposed to be.
Maybe a bunch of Michael's bastard children.
Maybe. Because basically it's like,
but that's not suggested in the theatrical cut. But then these scenes aren't in the producer's cut where that is revealed.
Yes.
So it's like, then what the fuck is that?
It's different. It's like, in the theatrical cut, it's almost like the doctors are trying to like harness the power of evil through scientific
thorns,
genetic something.
Yeah.
Because in the theatrical cut, they almost like the thorn stuff is throughout the movie because you shoot a whole movie with that as the basis.
You have to keep it. Yeah.
But then at the end, it's just like, well, none of that really mattered because it's like, no, it was the doctors and science and stuff.
Yeah.
And we were trying to make this kid. And then in the producer's cut, it's goes completely into the Thorn cult. The theatrical cut ends with, they end up in this big experimentation room and they like trick Michael. Tommy tricks Michael into like, I'm going to give you the baby. Here, you can have him. And then stabs him with these giant syringes filled with green liquid of some kind.
Right.
And then
it's the Hulk formula.
Yeah, pretty much, because he throws Tommy up against the wall.
It's a shame he didn't get him with the spike.
Yeah.
That's like a mile down the hallway.
Right. He could have found it.
The hallway, by the way.
Yeah. There's a single hallway.
Yeah.
And then Kara, like, Danny has the baby and he runs and hides in like behind these, crates or whatever. Kara gets strangled by Michael, like hits him with a pipe a couple times and then gets strangled out. And then Tommy out of nowhere, like hits him, knocks him out. They get away. Loomis comes in all of a sudden. And he's, got his gun. Yeah. And he's swinging it around.
Yeah.
And he gets them away and takes them up the elevator, leaving Tommy to then beat Michael to death with this pipe.
Yeah.
It is the most like MTV music video, 90s, edgy, flashy, overcut, over edited, horrible.
You and I, specifically you and I, have kind of co-opted. You have this bit where those edgy moments are like those moments, like when Saw ends and it goes to credits, you will look to me and you'll go, oh, wow. And that's all I can think of here. It's just like, and he's just like smashing him with, and the camera's like, it's like reverse Dutch angle. And like, it looks like a Capri Sun commercial and it is fucking bad.
Cause it's just quick flashes of Tommy swinging the pipe hitting Michael, but Michael's face, like his mask is like bubbling over and leaking the green liquid that was, I guess, injected into him.
Yeah.
And then
it's love.
It must be.
Yeah.
And then Tommy goes outside where he gets into his red Jeep with Kara and Danny and the baby.
Loomis goes, no, I have unfinished business I need to do inside. You guys are going to be fucking fine. He turns around, he stumbles back inside.
They drive away.
And because they do not know Loomis, and this is supposed to be like the hero's moment, they're like, okay, like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. And that's it. Nobody's tearful. Nobody's screaming like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. It's just like, okay. Well,
they just slowly drive away.
You old man that we don't know.
And then in the theatrical cut, we literally the camera just tilts down onto Michael's mask laying on the floor
Right.
with next to an empty syringe.
Uh-huh.
And Loomis's scream cut to credits.
Yeah, it is literally, you see the mask and then it's obvious that they didn't have any footage. So it's just probably old audio of him going, no! And it's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
This is where we get
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, this is where we get the bit with the boots. With
that is in
Dylan.
the producer's cut.
Yeah.
So the producer's cut, they still show up at the, Loomis and Tommy show up in these underground hallways of Smith's Grove.
Yeah.
And Tommy's like, well, if the runes are the thing that's controlling him, then maybe we can use the runes to stop him.
Which is stupid.
And then Tommy has this sack of magical rocks that I don't believe has been explained in any way.
He printed them off the computer.
Yeah. He has the first 3D printer.
No, not even. He has a rune printer.
Oh.
He's got a big rock slab and it prints them into the rock.
And then he's been chiseling these little things for a while.
And
just for this moment.
The other thing is, this is where Kara, in the producer's cut, Kara is like chained to the same bed that Jamie is chained to in the beginning.
Right.
And she's like, don't hurt the baby, Michael. You know whose baby that is. It's Jamie's. It's your niece's. And it's also yours, Michael. It's your baby. And it's like, she's smiling and it's like delivered like, come on, Michael, it's your baby. And it's like, don't smile and try to positive up the exposition that it's a rape incestuous baby.
Yeah. I don't know
disgusting.
what they were really getting at there.
I don't either, but it's like,
because it causes him to like pause for a second. And I guess that's what they're doing, is like that confusion, because it's happened a couple times in the franchise.
they did it last movie.
Yeah.
And it was stupid then. It's way stupider now. The other difference is that instead of Tommy injecting him with syringes to get away, he sprinkles these fucking rocks on the ground.
He creates a circle on the ground in this hallway.
He literally says, Sam Hain.
He does.
Yeah.
It's the magic word, because Michael steps into the circle and he says that. And then Michael just freezes in place. And then they run outside, just like in the other. They get in the van. Dr. Wynn comes in and finds Michael. And he's just like, oh, Michael, what have they done to you? And Michael's just frozen in this circle. And then...
So you mean, what have you done to him?
Yeah.
You idiot. Fucking goddamn it.
Well, and it's like, okay, we have no explanation as to what these rocks do, what these runes mean, or how any of this magic works. If Dr. Wynn just moved some of them, would Michael be able to leave the circle? Is it like I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
Do you think maybe there's a rune that you can move that unlocks Michael's ability to run? And
Maybe.
they just haven't done that yet?
They probably haven't done that yet.
Yeah, they unlock it and he runs up there like a 28 days
Like
later
if they,
zombie.
if they turned it to Wumbo, that it was. But then, same thing. They slowly drive away. Loomis is like, I've got unfinished business. And he turns to go back inside. And when Loomis walks inside, Michael appears not standing in the circle, but laying down on the floor in the middle of the circle. And Loomis has another, basically the same interaction of just like, oh, what have they done to you? I can't believe this. Like, whatever.
He's like, it's over now, Michael. It's time to just be a little kid again.
And he pulls the mask off of Michael, revealing it's not Michael.
It's Dr. Wynn.
It's Dr. Wynn.
In a twist that everyone saw coming.
Well, then what's happened to Michael?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of jury's out.
Okay.
What I do know is that we cut to a man, basically in a man in black outfit, walking,
Mm-hmm.
and then
got that thorn tattoo on his wrist.
Well, then we cut back to Loomis, who, like the black spot in Muppets Treasure Island, is growing the thorn tattoo, and so then Loomis starts going, no, no, and then so we have this bit with Dylan that we've kind of explained on the show before, but very basically it comes from this moment right now, which is in the producer's cut. It ends with Michael, presumably Michael, standing there.
Because it looks like the man in black.
Yeah, it's like wearing the hat, wearing a duster, and it pans down. And when it gets to his boots, it's like bling, like a music sting.
Yeah,
and then Loomis comes back in with no, and so Dylan sitting there watching this movie with us, who, by the way, Dylan hated this movie so much, and we'll have to get him to send us a picture. But Dylan hated this movie.
It's posted. It's up.
Good.
Yeah.
He hates this movie so much that for a lark, I bought him for Christmas. Fright Rags has a hat that's just the Curse of Thorn symbol. So I bought it for him. He wears it all the time.
It doesn't even say Halloween on it. It's literally just the symbol.
Yeah. And so we're watching that, and Dylan by this point is like, he hated this movie. He was angry at it. He didn't understand.
I think
why.
he was angry at us.
Yeah, probably. But it gets to the point where it cuts down and it does that musical sting. And then Dylan goes, oh, well, thank God they showed us his boots. Now we know it's Michael. You know, Michael infamously has those boots. They're Michael's boots. And so then for every movie that we've ever seen, as it pans down to any character's boots or shoes in any way, Dylan's like, oh, good. Okay, now we know that that's them. It's not somebody in disguise.
Yeah.
Because I guess that's what they were doing. Is, remember his boots?
Yeah. No. It doesn't make any sense. It's not even like, there is a couple shots early in the movie where you see his boots, because we made comments in our rewatches.
Yeah. But they're
like,
just military boots.
No, there's nothing special about them.
Right.
There's nothing identifying about them.
I guarantee you Tommy's wearing boots that are similar.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fashion of these movies.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that that's how this movie ends either way.
Yeah. And then, our first credit is, in memory of Donald Pleasance,
which is just awful.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm like finding the words to explain.
It's like, y'all, you can just shelf it.
Yeah.
You don't, they did it with fucking Batgirl. You don't need it. It's bad. There's nothing. If you have to do this many reshoots, if you have to have two versions of this movie that are so woefully different because you can't make a decision because the rights are fucking everywhere and editors are chopping it to pieces and there's nothing left of it, just go, fuck it. We can't release this movie, because that would have been better. Mm-hmm. Not releasing this movie would have been better than releasing it the way that it is, which is obviously half cooked.
Yeah. I will say, like, my own personal preferences, I prefer the producer's cut a good bit more than the theatrical.
Sure.
My reasoning behind that is, like, while I don't care for the Curse of Thorn, the Cult of Thorn, this whole storyline, like from 4 to 5 to 6, because with this movie, it is now encapsulated that these three movies are the quote unquote, Curse of Thorn trilogy.
Right.
They did not set them out to be that way. No. That is what they became.
Yeah.
So I'm not a big fan of that, but with the context of this movie alone, and with that in mind, if you're going to go that route, I rather you go all out weird occult stuff, not you recut the movie to where it's like, yeah, it's mostly that. And then at the end, it's like, yeah, but not really. It's more like this over here instead. It's like science-y stuff. And it's like, well, no, you didn't set that up at all because you literally couldn't, because you shot the movie already. You had to use what was already there.
Where I sit with this is that, yeah, they didn't set up the science-y stuff. They didn't set up like the secret lab thing or like any of the control over Michael in any kind of real way in the theatrical cut. When you have your main antagonist of the series, Michael Myers, be stopped by Paul Rudd throwing marbles on the ground and going, 7. It's like, no, you haven't jumped the shark. You jumped the fucking Pacific. It's crazy. It is. I would rather a movie with little substance that delivers on what I want than a movie with all of the substance possible that doesn't deliver on its own substance, because that's what the producer's cut ends up being. Is, yeah, they go full Monty, they go balls to the wall with it, but the balls are like horribly swollen and like mismatched and it's bizarre, and you end up just looking at the balls the whole time and going, no, hold on, I get there's a movie, but what's up with this? Why does Paul Rudd have rocks?
Yeah.
Either way, both of them are bad.
Yes.
I think we can agree on that.
Yeah. No. I like I said, I think there's a half a star difference in my ratings on this.
What's worse, this or 5? Because I say this.
I think this is worse. They're bad in different ways, very different ways. And I can't exactly put my finger on it right this second. Like, there are certain things that I like that they might have been trying in this, that just do not work for me, where it's like, I don't mind, clearly, much in the same way that, Halloween to Halloween 2. Halloween 2 is very similar to Halloween.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a cheaper version. It looks that way
Yeah.
of the first one. And then Halloween 3 is unrelated, and it is bonkers, and it is wild, and it is sci-fi, and it is Tom Atkins. This then is a trilogy of like, oh, well, we've recreated we've done like a 10 years later, we're kind of recreating Halloween 1.
Yeah.
And then we do like a flawed sequel to that picks up like immediately afterwards. And then we go balls to the wall, weird occult thing for the third one, and it doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. How dare you compare this to Halloween? I know.
In that way, but it's just one of those weird, it's like poetry. It's so that it rhymes things.
At the end of the day, when I look at this franchise, it's like I hate so much that this franchise, because we've talked about highs and lows in these before. It is so sad that the ultimate high, probably one of the best movies ever created by a visionary who now hates this franchise more than he hates anything else. It's like, it is so sad to see it go from something so amazing to just something so pitiful.
Right.
And it's only going to be made worse because then next week we talk about something amazing again. And then the week after we talk about something as bad.
Yeah.
Maybe worse.
I will say, just thinking in the greater context of like movies that we've covered and the genre as a whole, Scream comes out like the following year. So this is where slashers had gotten to.
Yeah.
In these many years. And so
that's a
like
good point.
Scream is almost a direct reference, a direct answer to this film in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like it's skewering it while being like the perfect example of a slasher. So I find that interesting. What do you think, either ending, what do you think Halloween 7 would have been if they hadn't, like, where do you take this next if they hadn't rebooted then again with H2O?
Okay. I got it. Michael, who has abandoned his masked persona, goes on to kind of fake his identity, and he kind of learns to, and he's just a chameleon. He can't really be a person in any real conceivable way. But now that the thorn is gone and the kind of the puppet masters are gone and he's stringless, he tries to kind of blend and just coast. Eventually he finds the guilt of what he's done to all these cops lead him into law enforcement. And he kind of becomes like a bit cop, and he ends up, from Illinois all the way to Manhattan. But he does this really amazing thing where he saves.
Thanks for tuning into the Third Channel podcast. Please, if you have the time, rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast apps.
You can follow us on social media at Third Channel Podcast, and you can find me online at that D Rosenberg.
You can also reach out to us at thirdchannelpodcast@gmail.com, where we check every message we swear. Third Channel is hosted by PJ Minette
and Derek Rosenberg. Theme song and audio engineering by Fly Guy Ty.
The logo design by Bell DeVelco.
Episode artwork by Nathan Walkington.
Keep it tuned right here to the Third Channel for all things horror. And remember, don't touch that dial.
Egg salad and eggs.